Whenever I play Minecraft and I'm just trying to relax and have a moment to myself to explore my abilities to build, I can't help but feel a little bit guilty whenever I have to kill one of these poor little animals. At the same time, I do love me some PAM'S HARVESTCRAFT, an amazing mod that has over 80 new crops for the ground, 50 new fruit-growing trees, and all of this adds up to over 1,400 new recipes for us to cook up. And in the next 100 days, we're going to go through a full year of changing seasons with Serene Seasons, and I'm going to try to make them all. Only one problem. So many of these dishes need animal products and meat. Can we make every single dish in PAM'S HARVESTCRAFT without hurting a single animal? Or will the winter win? And so, our story begins. What better way than with this gentle, rolling rain? Seriously, look at this. We have a mod in that makes our rain look way, way better. More realistic, to be sure. And as I move around, I can even see the direction of the rain changing too. I'm already really into this, and hopefully the rain helps you sleepy crewmates get a little bit of rest. Not me though. I'm too excited to see the river landscape surrounded by all these rolling hills of golden barley? Prairie biome, I think. And in the distance, I can see some huge trees from a mountain forest. Okay though, I can't get too distracted by all these little surprises. We are in hardcore mode after all. Let's get some seeds and start making our farming dreams come true. Of course, the captain's dream farm is always going to be PAM'S HARVESTCRAFT. This is the main central mod of this adventure, and it starts by getting some crops from gardens like these. Our first few crops: mustard, parsnips, some lettuce. They might not seem like much, but it's a great start. And soon we also get some strawberries. Strawberries grow in the springtime. They should give us some good food options, which is important because we have a mod, Serene Seasons, which will affect the time of year that crops can grow. Also, we have a mod called Diet. It's a new nutrition mod that means we need to have a few different types of food, like fruits, for example. And remember, we're gonna need every type of crop that we can possibly get, because we won't be getting any meat. Yes, you did hear me right. When I get a look into that poor little piggy's eyes, I make a decision that I want to try something that I've never done before in a 100 days challenge. I'm going to go cruelty-free on this farm. Unless a hostile mob attacks me, I will not harm a single animal in this entire playthrough. We'll see how many days I can keep this up. Now I just have to worry about my survival and try to find a place to put these very precious crops in the ground. I will have to clear out all the shrubs up here, but to be honest with you, that's totally fine with me. See, I don't really love the shrubland biomes in Biomes of Plenty anyway. I do, however, love the bright purple jacaranda tree biome. I mean, look at that. And I can already see that it has these purple flowers falling too. I mean, honestly, this is kind of enchanting. Not to mention all the different rain sounds we get when we go under these beautiful trees. Wow. This biome is almost magical, and to be honest with you, I'd love to live here, but that means I'd have to cut down some of these beautiful trees to make room for my house. And speaking of beautiful trees, yes, of course, the redwoods. Truly the biome of the captain, and I can't tell you how much I want to build here. I do love me some redwood, and I even find this small opening here that looks like a tiny little valley, and it's got some fruit trees in it too. This reminds me that HARVESTCRAFT also has some nut and fruit trees that we can grow as well. Oh, and speaking of magical forests, this biome is a mythical forest. Bright blue trees with flowers and these unique mushrooms too. Another amazing addition to our world. And we still aren't done, because in the distance, I can see the Jade Cliffs, which means we have some spruce wood too. This world truly is amazing. Now, my only problem in this relaxing, sleepy, little rainy video is that I'm gonna have to choose one of these biomes to build my house in. And so I do just that. Now, this part right here, you guys might actually disagree with my choice, but I actually choose the shrublands. Okay, but here's why. Hear me out. I know that this is probably one of the most ugly biomes that we have to choose from, but think of it this way. I'm picking this area right here because I can make this ugly spot look a little bit nicer with my house instead of destroying the natural beauty of the better biomes around us. That, and, well, to be honest with you guys, the night has already started and this is where I am, so I need to hide away right now. Remember, we can't hurt any animals, so if we take any damage, I'm gonna have to wait till my crops grow to get any food to get my health back. Now, more than ever, we need to play really safe here and hide down here in our small little cave. And yes, I do know that it's dark, and I'm gonna put a furnace down and light it up as soon as I can. That way you guys can see what's going on here a little bit better. I know how frustrating a dark video can be. The very first thing we do here is cook up some charcoal. We're doing this so that we can make a torch. So at least we have some light here. Since I have seen your comments, I know that the darkness really bugs you guys, and trust me, it bugs me too. But being a sad little broke boy bugs me even more. So since I can't do any sleeping without a bed, or go roaming and lose any health, we do a little bit of mining. And we already find our first iron. I even find a quick way down to the deep slate too. And then this happens. Falling out of this water right in the path of the zombie means that I lose almost all my health in seconds. Now, I'm in a pretty bad spot just like that. I build a stairway out, and I carefully grab just a little bit more iron. But I cannot stay down here for long. I'm forced to eat rotten flesh as our first meal. You already know that when I'm eating rotten flesh, I'm not having a good time. At the very least, I grab a bit more iron and make this trip worth it. But of course, greed gets the better of me, like it always does. Trapped with no armor and no weapons, these zombies crush me all the way down to 1 heart. Just like that, I'm in real trouble. Block myself in, but with no food, what am I supposed to do? The only thing I can do, run. Inches from that zombie and the end of this entire world. Even just one skelly shot and it's over. But for now, just barely, we're okay. Well, kind of. We carefully make our way back up to our cave when I hear a skeleton's footsteps. I have to quickly block myself away from him because one shot and it's over. I do manage to head back to the surface and I block this up too because the rain means the mobs can still spawn up here. Bro, I thought this was going to be an easy and relaxing farming video. Now I have to make a painful decision. I'm going to have to eat some of my crops. Every crop that I eat means that our farm gets a little bit smaller. But what choice do I have? I can't just live off of 1 heart. As long as the rain out here keeps on falling down, I have to keep my health up. I also have to be careful out here too, even in the daytime. I slowly head up to get a little bit more wood from the shrubs. And each shrub only has 1 log, so even this is kind of a nightmare too, honestly. I always thought of the spring as a time for new life and growth. I didn't know it could be so harsh. But it's not all bad. We do manage to get an apple. More importantly, we get some saplings too. For now, we have to use the wood to smelt up our iron. I could really use it right now. With it, we can get our first iron pickaxe, but maybe more importantly, finally, I decide that it's time. Even if mobs might still be out here, I need to get some food. So right here, by the riverside, we officially start our first farm as we till up all this soil. But I can't get too excited. This isn't going to be some huge HarvestCraft farm. Not just yet. Because we have to start off with some vanilla wheat seeds first. That being said, after we get this first little plot of wheat down, I am feeling brave enough to get another farm going. And this time, we'll actually be getting our HarvestCraft crops growing. Starting with the barrel cactus, not the best, but I guess we'll take it. Followed by strawberries, this is more like it. Then onions, another good one, and some flax as well. You observant viewers might already be noticing this, but yes, we are going to be starting by planting our spring crops first, because they're in season, so they're going to grow much faster, which is something we definitely need. So with that said, we also get our papyrus, our chai, and our lettuce down next. Also, I think it's kind of cool, a few of these crops are brand new to HarvestCraft 2, and I've never even seen them before. But I can't get too focused on these new toys right now. I have to get these summer crops down in the ground as well. Now, I do think that these summer crops are still going to grow. I just think that they're going to be a lot slower, although for right now, I can't really be sure. All I know right now is that we have some nopales, casanova, a wolfberry, sisal, agave, corn, mustard, lots of peanuts, elderberry, chili peppers, and yes, even some of the parsnips in the ground and growing. Now, this is a interesting collection of crops here, and I have no idea how all this is going to turn out. But at the same time, I am proud of this humble first little HarvestCraft garden that we have going. Hopefully it grows up to be big and strong. And it better too, because that night we run into even more mobs. The zombies and the skellies, they're bad enough. But then I see by the river, we get drowned, and this one has a trident. One of these things could be huge damage, and two of them could kill me. Luckily, I was smart enough to use our little bit of iron to make a shield, and I just barely survived this tense little fight here. What's not so smart is staying out even longer and fighting even more mobs. But I have to do this for two reasons. One is to plant all of these trees, because we really need this wood. But number two is that I'm starting to realize that in this spring, in this 100 days, it looks like the rain is never going to stop. It's been 3 full days now, and this rain is still coming down just as hard. Meaning that if we hide out through all the night, the sun isn't going to come up and burn off all the mobs every morning. We're going to have to keep on fighting off all the mobs, but more importantly, this means we need a better shelter right now. While we wait for the oak to grow, let's see if we can't do a little bit better. Now, I head all the way back to these jade cliffs because here we could collect some spruce. With the tree harvester mod, I can cut down whole trees in one shot, so that is pretty nice. And now that we do have full bellies with all these wild crops from these gardens, we should have enough strength to get a few stacks of spruce wood. This little side quest might have taken all of day 3, but now that we actually have a good amount of spruce wood, I think it's well worth it. And just as the night is setting in, I plant all the spruce saplings that we grabbed. So now we'll have all the spruce we need, and hopefully we can make that life-saving shelter. Speaking of life-saving, sadly, we don't have any life-saving crops. HarvestCraft can be a little bit slow to get started. Let's hope it's not too slow. Still, it's not all that desperate. I craft up a door to keep the drowned out, and we get our first potato from killing a zombie. Now, I'm feeling safe enough to get back to work. I plant a few of the crops we've collected during the day, and our humble little farm is really starting to look good. Speaking of good, we finally get our first crop grown, the barrel cactus. Yeah, I think that the barrel cactus really might be the most useless crop in the game to date. It's a fairly new addition to HarvestCraft, and I'm thinking that it's more of just a decoration than a food, really. Seriously, I actually looked into the wiki to see if there could be any food made from this crop, and there's no dishes that can be made with this sad little thing here. So that means I'm sitting here eating raw cactus in a dark, wet cave. Yeah, what a great farmer I am. Okay, but hey, maybe I can cook it up in the furnace. Nope. Even vanilla cactus is better than this thing. Seriously, this is like not fair. How does this happen to me? But as sad as this is, I guess everyone has to start somewhere, right? Whether I like it or not, this is our first official crop that we've grown. So we set it off in this chest right here. And this is where we're going to be collecting our first little bits of our harvest, along with some bones as well, but we'll get into those just a little bit later. For now, we head back up top to start our next day, and you guessed it, another rainy day. And as I look around, I'm starting to realize something here. I've actually never seen this landscape in the sunlight. But to be honest, as much as I'm complaining here, deep down, I really do love this gentle, peaceful rain. It's not getting me down one bit, and I'm definitely feeling a lot better once I get a big old handful of chicken butt in my hands. With carry-on, you can just go up and grab a chicken and haul them around. I bring this one back home, and I start to dig out a little area for her. Although, probably not a good idea to have her home underwater like this. I will say all this flooding water does remind me of realistic water physics. Just glad I don't have to deal with that in this 100 days. Instead, I move to the other side of the cave, and it is nice and dry over here. Ish. And for now, our little chicken has a home that's, wow, honestly even bigger than mine. I mean, look at this. She even gets a proper spruce door. To be honest though, she is well worth it. Having a chicken in our home is a huge boost. Of course, we can't expect her to be all alone, so we quickly go out to grab her a little friend, and we bring her back to the underground pen as well. I barely have any seeds at all, but I still managed to spare just a few. And now, we have our first little chicken family. And more good news, we also get our first little onions and lettuce growing. Now this is a real harvest. By the end of our first little mini picking frenzy here, we have papyrus, sisal, chai, flax to go all with them. And this chest isn't as empty as it used to be. Our tummies, however, still might be, so let's see if we actually have enough crops here to make our first legit HarvestCraft meal. Stock is made out of meats from animals, and sadly, since I've decided to become a pacifist, I won't be having any of those. This means I'm kind of contemplating killing my first chicken to make our first meal. Or at least I would have if I didn't find this amazing little fix. You can also make stock out of bones as well. Even though I am a peaceful farmer, I don't feel bad one bit when I make a copper pot and I cook up some of these bones. Garden soup, our first real food that's come out of our farms. Combined with our first few pieces of iron here, and our first egg, means that we're actually making some pretty good progress here. With a copper skillet, we can get our second dish, a fried egg. Also, we can use the pot again to make an egg into a boiled egg, which technically means I guess we have like 3 dishes on our menu. And speaking of menu, just like I did in my first video, the Farmer's Delight video, I'm going to be making a chest off to the side here to collect one of each of the recipes that we managed to cook, starting of course with these 3. Not too bad. And I have to admit, right about here, the tables had really turned. I was feeling pretty good. And I was having even more fun when I see this. We have our first strawberries. Like I said, strawberries are pretty fantastic, and they can be used in a ton of recipes. On top of that, these specific recipes are pretty simple, meaning that we can start to make them right now, starting with nothing. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. Maybe we can't make them right now. It turns out we have to go out and get some clay first so that we can make some terracotta for a juicer. A lot of the utensils in this new HarvestCraft are actually made of copper, but the juicer is still made out of good old classic clay, just like an old HarvestCraft. We cook up our terracotta blocks, and in no time, we have our juicer. Using the juicer and 2 strawberries, we can make another brand new dish, strawberry juice. Delicious, or at least it would be if I could drink it. See, here's the thing. I did promise myself that I would save a copy of each and every food. And since I only have one little piece of juice right now, this one's going to go to the chest instead. And so I decide right now is a good time to head out to get even more iron. And maybe something even better. I see that if I crouch and mine at the same time, I can harvest a whole vein at once. Yes, that's right, guys. We have Vein Miner. I know that a lot of you guys in the comments have been telling me that I really need to get this mod before, and I can't believe it took me so long to listen to you, because you were right. The first thing I see once we get back up here is this huge forest in the distance from day one. And if I run over there really quickly, we might be able to find even more crops. Now, I don't really have too much food here, so this is going to have to just be a quick trip. It can't hurt, right? And so we set out into the cold pine forest. Deeper in the forest, I do see some snow is still falling since it is so early in spring. And this snow keeps all the gardens from spawning. We do manage to find this Tiga white grape, but this won't really help us out, not for a long time. What does matter is this new mountaintop biome. But what really matters, what really is a game changer here, is this emerald. Now, if we can manage to make some trades, we can really expand our farming horizon. But I can't get too carried away and be excited about that just yet. The night is still really dangerous with this low food that we have. So, I decide to grab some wood, and I make a classic Captain's Little Hidey Hole. Here, we can just take a minute and let the night pass a little bit. Also, we could smelt up some iron that we found yesterday. Now, sure, this is a little bit pathetic here. I am stuck in a cramped little 2x2, looking out in the falling rain in the forest. But with a warm fire giving me strength, it does keep my hopes up. The challenges of the seasons, the rain, the passive lifestyle, all of this can be a little bit tough here, but I think I'm doing really well. And also, I will admit, we have gotten pretty lucky so far too. So now with a little bit of rest, and of course, a new set of iron armor and a shield, we set out to find even more iron and even more emeralds. Until, of course, oh yeah, duh, that's right, the whole reason we came out here in the first place, a frost garden, a HARVESTCRAFT garden that grows up here in the mountain biomes. And it gives us some quinoa and juniper berries. I wonder if Villa is still making that mead with the juniper berries mixed in. Oh, we aren't done yet though, because we even managed to find some shade gardens, another big boost to our crops. Now if only we could find some inventory room to fit all of them. We get turnips, sweet potatoes, a little bit of zucchini, and I'd say it's a decent mission success. We head back to our little cave outpost here. By that night, we're running back to our farm. A quick drive-by milking, thank you very much, Betsy, and soon we're back home. See, while I still need to find out a way to get some meat, milk is a huge deal, and it can help us make a ton more dishes. This, combined with all the eggs we've been getting, will give us a good range of cruelty-free options. So we just grab a little bit of water, with all this rain that should be easy, and then we can start to see what new recipes we might be able to get here. With some salt, which is a pot and some water mixed together, we can now get scrambled eggs. An awesome dish, and probably one of the best ways to eat eggs, but I do gotta say, look, do you guys put milk in your scrambled eggs? I mean, don't get me wrong, I guess it sounds good. Definitely not how I do my eggs. Anyway, okay, enough about weird egg recipes. Let's start planting our new crops. The amaranth goes in, which is weirdly going to be very useful later. Then we get some artichokes and winter squash as well, even though those do grow in autumn, so they're going to be taking a little bit longer. At the start of the next day, we can plant in the barley, the sweet potatoes, and the zucchini, and yes, I'm still trying to keep the spring crops all together. We then get some quinoa down, and I decide to plant some sweet berry bushes. Then I make a little more space to put down the turnips. Then we sneak in a leek. Does that rhyme? Is that? Anyway, we do also get some potatoes, because I actually have some big plans for these guys. But first, let's take a little break. I make a new mixing bowl, and inside of it, I add some snow that we managed to keep from the mountains with some fresh strawberries to make a smoothie. That sounds good IRL. Another good recipe is baked vegetable medley, which takes any two type of vegetables and is another really good early game way to get some use out of your first crops. But maybe we can try to get some more advanced ingredients today. We make a rolling pin, and with a rolling pin and any type of vegetable, you can get cooking oil. Speaking of veggies, we do head into the garden and we manage to pick a few of the crops here. With these and the cooking oil that we've just made, we might be able to make a new meal. For example, we could make the potatoes O'Brien, but We just don't have the bell peppers. Those are a summer crop, so they're still going to need just a little more time. For now, we can make some sweet berry juice. Now, this should be good food because we can keep on farming those berries. And speaking of farming, we can cut down and collect all the spruce that's finally grown, because I have a plan. Now, these summer crops are not growing. That's a little bit too frustrating for me to handle. But never mind any of that for right now. We can turn our sisal and our flax into string. That's another big perk of HarvestCraft in my opinion. And of course, we can very easily make a little bit more veggie medley and a little bit more berry juice. A good diet of fruits and veggies has me feeling pretty good. And maybe more importantly, this cute little colorful farm is definitely keeping me motivated. Which is perfect, because now we're going to get started on our biggest project yet. Another axe and some more spruce is needed. And after almost a full day of chopping all these trees down, we finally have enough resources to make our bed. The biggest project yet. okay, I'm kidding. Let's get to work on the real project here. I start to collect a ton of sand for glass as well. All of my loyal HarvestCraft lovers probably already see what I'm doing here. Now, as I'm heading home, I want you guys to take one last picture in your minds of what this hillside looks like. We start to cook up our sand, and we're ready to start crafting up our wooden blocks that we need. Okay, finally, here we go. Once I figure out just how big the farm is actually going to be, we can now set down our very first spruce log supports. Like I have been in the past, I'm always a big fan of setting up the supports and doing the big framework for all of your builds first. I look online and I see a lot of builders like to do a footprint first and work their way up. But for me, something just feels better about setting a solid structure first. I don't know, maybe it feels like more realistic? I'm not really sure. So, because we are on the side of this hill here, we're going to have to be a little bit more creative with our builds. For this one, we just decide to cut out a chunk of the hill. We're going to be building our structures directly into it. Now I know that's not too imaginative, I admit, but the future builds are going to be way more of an upgrade. Trust me on that one. For now, this is going to have to do, as we already have all of the logs and some of the slabs here in place. I do take a short break though. I get down into the farm, making sure that I plant and spread all of our crops. Staying on top of this is the fastest way to expand our farm after all. Then, we start to add more slabs on the inside of the logs. See, I have a border down on the ground that wraps around the farm, so we don't have to have glass up here. Yet. However, wherever there are crops, directly above that, there has to be a block of glass. So we start to add all that glass next. Honestly, my viewers, you guys are pretty smart, so you probably already know where I'm headed with this, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. After all, who wants to hear me talk when you can just listen to this realistic falling rain on the glass? Isn't that so cool? And now, sure enough, all of the functional parts of our brand new greenhouse are done. We could leave it here if we wanted, but yeah, we definitely don't want to do that. Instead, we're going to start to build right on top of the greenhouse. This entails putting some supports as I start to make a T-shape. I do have to take a moment here, keep all these nasty skellies at bay, but to be honest, it's the creepers that I really want to worry about. After a short break, we start to add the roofs. Now I am going to be totally honest with you guys here. I don't think I can think of any legit builders who start doing the roofs first, but you know, I'm just built different like that. That's why you guys love me after all, right? You get to see my unique style of building. Speaking of unique, if you haven't already guessed what we're doing here, we are building our starter cottage on top of a greenhouse. To be honest here, I was kind of inspired for this idea by Sheep GG. They made a small spruce house on top of a garden. Now, my greenhouse is a pretty big upgrade, but the concept was cool and seemed pretty smart, so I definitely want to give it a try. As we start to get our roof looking pretty good and the walls start going up, I do start to make some changes from that original design to make this build more personal to me. But for now, the inside of this little cabin is pretty much the same. The idea is it's a little bit smaller and more compact. This way, we don't have to build too much over the water or dig too much into the mountainside. Keeping our build vertical and compact like this means that the impact on our environment is minimal. But like I said, I will be making a few little changes. For example, in the original build, the planks and the logs are flush with one another, making one big line. I always like to make supports stick out one block, even in a build this small. I do, however, continue to copy sheep's use of these stripped logs on the inside of the roof peaks up here. It's definitely looking good, no doubt, but like I said, I need to make this biggest wall right here have supports go a little bit deeper. This does mean that I'm gonna have to do a redesign on this entire side of the build, but I do think it's worth it in the end. We add a little bit of depth, and yet the room inside doesn't get any smaller. Yes, that does mean we have to redo all the roofs and stretch this sidewall, but I think I managed to make a decent adaptation. At the beginning of day 11, we can start on the details. And to be honest with you, I could do details forever, so I'm gonna have to cut myself off eventually here. But for now, let's get started by throwing down some lanterns. Also, we can add some slabs to cover the windows from all this rain. And while adding all these little details does take all day, by that night, we have a weird floating house up on top of the glass. Yeah, to be honest with you though, I kind of don't know about this look. I mean, it kind of seems like every time I go to bed, people are looking right at my skirt. Yeah, I'm not really into it. Not until you guys put a ring on it. I spend the night farming and thinking about how am I going to improve on this little problem that we built for ourselves. I've kind of never done this before. On the bright side, however, our chest is now almost totally full of crops. And we finally do have some bell peppers too. The greenhouse has already helped us get these potatoes O'Brien. And now, kind of feels like this is our first real complex dish that we've made. To be honest, it's already making me hungry just looking at it. With some more peanut oil, we could make a good amount of these. And on the side, we can have some strawberry smoothies. With this food combination, our diet should be pretty good for the rest of spring. Maybe. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Just before the day ends, we start to add some new fences all around the farm. Now, we still do need some more wood, so the next morning, we're out and chopping. I decide to add even more supports. I think it helps to flesh out the greenhouse and make it look even better from the outside. More importantly, I'm planning to run logs down the middle of these supports throughout the ceiling of the greenhouse. This will help break up the big piece of glass, and since the crops will still be getting the greenhouse effect even with the big log in the way, this should be perfect. Also, this gives me more places to add all my lanterns. Doing this will help light up the crops, helping them grow inside of the greenhouse, but at the same time, adding more light outside of the greenhouse will cause the river to have a little less drowned in it, protecting my base. But let's be honest, I mostly did this just for the looks. And boy, when I get to step back here, I have to say, it sure does look good. And that being said, when I'm inside of the house itself and I'm looking down, it still is a... Man, this feels so weird. I just can't get this out of my head. It's really bugging me. But I'll have to work on that later. For now, we get some shears, and we start to collect some leaves. We can make some fences around the house to keep me from falling off, because let's be honest, you know I would. And we can add some leaves like their growth coming up from the gardens. Also, I do decide to set up some planters right here in the entrance of our little house. Of course, you guys already know, we're going to be adding the best block in Minecraft. That's right, the spruce trapdoor. This really makes the planters look like they should. And so of course, I then add planters, fences, and leaves all around the house and in every windowsill. I also put some leaves in this area right here, but I think I'm going to leave this area in the hill open because I think we're going to be using this as a pathway later. For now, we spend the rest of the night getting our fences all in place around the outside. Now it's time to work on the interior. Remember, that this cabin right here is pretty small, so we're going to have to get pretty creative. Once again, these spruce trapdoors come in clutch, because we can use them to make something like a shelf here in the corners of the room. Now we can use carry-on, and we could take all of these chests full of all of our goods out of the cave, move them up, and put them in the nooks and crannies in this bedroom. Some people make massive, huge builds that take up the entire horizon, and that's impressive, don't get me wrong. But for me, I like these cozy, little, humble cabins and cottages. And this build right here definitely fills that place in my heart for sure. Speaking of adding something cozy, this is a botany pot from a mod called, well, Botany Pots. It lets us make a small mini farm of one plot anywhere we want. This flax will grow a string, but also, let's just be honest, it'll add some color to the room as well. In fact, I like this so much, I want to add another one. Starting with right here in the front entrance, where once again, I think we should be adding some flowers here as well. I plant some bell peppers and spread them in a small little plot here in the greenhouse. I save one seed and I bring it up here. Unfortunately, this one little flax plant here will not give us enough string and wool that we need, so we're going to have to grab some from some sheep. And luckily, we can do this without hurting them one bit. Another lucky thing we see here on day 13 is that now we have a movement speed buff. Our spring food diet has boosted our running speed by 10%, and it's given us haste too. Not too bad for day 13 already. And what's really, really not bad is this. At night I get a first real look at our house from the water, and yeah, I don't want to brag here guys, but I am so proud of this, I can't even lie. And we still have a ton to add too, starting with the chimney. Now my last house in Farmer's Delight did have a chimney also, and I think it just ended up being like too big. This one is much smaller, and it definitely fits with this much smaller build. Okay, maybe making it a little pipe like that is a little too small. Maybe just a little bit bigger. Can't have a gap where all the rain comes in after all. Then, the next detail, it actually might be the coolest one yet. I used the shears, and I grabbed some leaves from the jacaranda trees. And now, I'm going to be able to add some purple flowers all around my base. I continued to do this all night, and I have to say, at the top of all these big spruce logs, these leaves kind of give this whole base a tree-like look. Like this whole structure looks like it's growing and full of life. I love it. Now I'm starting to add some upside down stairs to the tops of the support to make them pop out even more. And of course, you guys already know, I add some spruce trapdoors below them to break up the logs even more. By the time I'm done, and I get a look at it at the start of the next day, the whole look at the bottom half of the base is completely transformed. This looks so sharp, and it's coming out even better than I had imagined it. And I'm not even done yet. 4 leaves up top, making a little bit more dimension up here. And now this is starting to make the upper half look just as good as the bottom half. But we have to take a short little break here. I have to make a quick trip to go gather the next few blocks of the build. Now, I start to sail away downriver, but I take a moment to look behind me. The humble little cottage on the river bend has grown into a proper home. The first block that we grab are some of these flower leaves. And speaking of flowers, we finally come across the flowers that we've been looking for. Roses, some sunflowers, lily of the valley, one of my favorite, but most importantly, we need a lot of these red flowers. We hop back on our boat, we start to head home. And of course, we get another good look on the way back at this beauty. Now, while I'm loving this, I'm having a lot of fun here. Before we get too caught up in more and more builds, we do have to take a moment to take care of our farm. See, the greenhouse is meant to help for the off-season crops. Right now we just have all of our crops growing here, which includes some spring crops, which is kind of a waste. So I try to organize 4 plots per crop and try to work at getting the summer and fall crops down in here first. After a full night working in the greenhouse, I'm back to working on the, well, me house. First, we add even more leaves, this time with the flowers in them. I gotta say, I like these. I might be getting a little too carried away here, but I don't care. I then turn the red flowers into red dye, and I add them to some wool so I can make carpet. I already put down some white carpet, but here what we're doing is we're making a checkered pattern of white and red carpet on the floor of my bedroom. Finally, once we're done, now I don't feel like somebody's watching me while I sleep, and the bedroom feels far more complete. But that's not our only use of the red dye. We need 1 piece of red wool so that we can make our market. We set this up on the patio. Now we can finally get some use out of all those emeralds we've collected. At this marketplace, you can buy whatever HarvestCraft seeds you need. But, you know, at the same time, let's not get totally carried away here. I only have 4 emeralds after all. And besides, where would I put all of these additional crops if we were to grow them? I mean, my bedroom is already starting to get a little cramped as it is. But before I get too worried about all of that, let's see if we can't craft up a little lunch. I see that if I search up grain, the UI will show me all of the dishes that give us grain for our diet. Just perfect. Now they're mostly baked goods, of course no surprise there, so we will have to take a moment here and get some more of that free-range milk first. Sorry, old girl, but we really need some milk. Yeah, you know, maybe I'll just take 1 more bucket. Okay, maybe 1 more. You know what? It can't hurt if we get a full stack. I think Betsy could take it, right? That night, using some of our milk, we can make batter. So how do we get our flour? Well, first we have to make a grinder. Then you grind up almost anything. You can make flour out of a ton of crops, and this is where that amaranth really comes in. Soon, we have 16 batter, and we should be able to really expand our menu. First, let's make some more cooking oil, because I have donuts in my eyes. That's just simply some batter, oil, and whatever flavoring you want as a filling. Sweet berries should be a pretty good start for us. That, and then we do just craft up a plain donut. We can add this to our recipe chest. Now, I'm not really interested in making all the different variants of all the foods. So, like, I'm not going to make every single flavored donut. Especially, I'm not going to make all the different juices and all the different butters. I think if I make 1 type of each, that should be just fine. Now, with all the extra milk we've collected, on day 17, we make a lot of cheese. Okay, maybe that's a little too much cheese. I think I was a little hungry in real life while I was playing here. Then with this, we can make a ton of dough and some couscous, why not? Now, we can roll the dough into pasta. And with all that cheese, we can make some mac and cheese. Ooh. When I was a kid, my mom would make Kraft mac and cheese like every day. You already know I'm going to make a ton of this stuff. But before I go too crazy, I do use some of the noodles to make some soup, just in case we get sick, and we also make some crackers as well. Crackers and cheese does sound like a good snack to go with our mac and cheese. Like I said, we have a lot of cheese here. And yes, it does mean I have to make a new cutting board, but totally worth it. All of these new cheesy additions to the recipe chest look pretty good too. And so, we do get just a little bit more milk. Thank you, Betsy. And now if we make a saucepan, we can turn some sugar into marshmallows, and then we can add milk to make caramel, however you pronounce it. Oh, we also do get some yogurt from the milk as well, and now we should be able to add almost anything we want to the yogurt. After adding all of these new dishes to our chest, once again, I make another little bit of yogurt, and this time, we're going to add some juniper berries. Volid would be proud. Okay, up next, this one is actually pretty serious. We craft up a barrel, then we craft up a trapdoor. When we put these 2 things together, we get our shipping bin. That's right, it's back. With this, we can make Stardew Valley style trades. The list of items you can trade is pretty long, but for right now, they're only vanilla items. Well, at least in this 100 days. Of course, we're not really going to get to make all these trades if this drowned kills our poor little merchant. And this is the only man in this whole world that's more helpless than me. Now, you would think since we saved his life that he'd give us a bit of a discount here, but no. Like a true capitalist, he's still going full price. So, step 1 of paying this steep bill here is grabbing even more potatoes. I told you I had a plan for these. In the meantime, it's back down into the mines for us. But first off, while we're down here, one of the big things that we need is iron. Luckily, I do find a decent amount of it right away. Sadly, we also find a decent amount of skellies too. This shader is pretty dark down in this cave, so I am going to try to boost up my brightness here in my editing software for you guys. but you won't need any more brightness so that you could see these shiny diamonds. I guess I should say shiny diamond, since there's only one here. Luckily, pretty quickly we do find another one. And yes, I do mean another one. And my diamond luck is so bad, I swear. And then I see this, and again for a third time, I thought it was another single. And I'm gonna scream if I find just one more lonely diamond. Honestly, at this point, I'll take two. Anything but one. Luckily, we have plenty of donuts to keep us going. And it does all eventually pay off, because pretty soon, we found multiple diamonds. Yeah, that's right, even more than one. I know, crazy. But we also do manage to find something that might be just as important. This mini boss scaler right here is so strong because he has the sophisticated backpack mod boost. And when you kill him, he drops one. The loot inside of the backpack is not that great, but that's not really what matters. What matters is now we have basically double the inventory space. What's not so good is this Enderman. Sorry about that, I guess I must have been staring at him for too long. Sounds like every girl I've ever talked to. Well, that little fight right there isn't a huge deal. I probably shouldn't be taking too much damage. My food is starting to run a little bit low since I've been down here for so long. But running out of food doesn't matter if we break our pick first. Yeah, not good. We did manage to grab even more diamonds, but now we only have 6 smoothies and no pick to dig our way back to the surface. I have to carefully backtrack my entire way through the mines and take as little damage as possible. Obviously, I'm not doing too great at either of these. Now, even my sword breaks. I'm down to just my bow with limited arrows. Of course, pretty soon we run out of those too. Now, I have nothing. I'm taking way too many shots down here. Imagine if I failed the relaxing 100 days. Not this time. Just barely. Not this time, as I managed to hide right down here. Now, I would really love to block myself in to protect myself, but remember, I can't dig my way out. So I just have to hide here, pray. But sure enough, the juniper berry yogurt saves me, and I survive. For a second, I just stand here in my house. I legit took a second just to breathe. But hey, it all pays off in the end. I now have enough diamonds to make a pick, a sword, and some more armor too. Though I have to admit it, I do really dislike it when you have mismatched armor like this. But what are my other options, honestly? While all of this is in fact good news, the fact that the 22 potatoes that we were trying to put in the shipping bin didn't sell is definitely bad news. This means 1 emerald is worth more than 22 potatoes. You just talk about a ripoff. I think I'm going to head to my farm for the night and try to figure out how I'm going to make this work. At the start of day 21, I am a little bit happier though when I get a real breakfast and I make an omelet using an egg, a bell pepper, and an onion. I craft a few of them and I head out to grab myself some clay. In addition, I do decide to get a little bit of redwood too, but I'm not going to be too greedy. I'm definitely not cutting down the big ones. I'm going for the smaller ones, and then, of course, I'm going to be replanting them as I go. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it never feels good to cut down redwood trees, but replacing them, then bringing back all this redwood to my farm does feel pretty awesome. Now, at base, I decide to go to the backside right here where I save myself a little path, and I decide to add on to our farm. And yes, this edition does start with redwood logs. Now, we're going to be making small plots of about 3 by 3 and keeping the dirt in the middle. You guys probably could already tell, but yes, we're in fact going to be putting some water in the dead center because this will be another little mini farm. Next up, we turn some of our redwood into posts, then we turn some of the posts into these really cool looking cross log piles. I'm going to add posts to the 4 corners to be little mini supports. Then, up at the top, that's where I'm going to be adding all of these log piles. This build here, obviously, it isn't too tall, but I kind of like the idea of having a small little terrace garden up here. Even though it's still dark at nighttime and I haven't finished yet, I can already tell that I'm really gonna like this. I keep on working on putting all the piles up top. And now, the finished product right here is exactly what I wanted. Well, more or less. I actually decided to get rid of some of the bottom logs here and make this whole thing out of posts all the way down. Perfect. In fact, I think it's time to keep on going as I get another Terrace down right next to it. Now, by day 22, the third little Terrace farm is almost down, and these 3 additions are looking pretty good together. And now I'm just taking a break here to look over my hard work. I have to say, the red wood from the Biomes of Plenty is great, and these blocks here, which are from I Like Wood, really make this look awesome. Now I know these are modded blocks, and some people don't love it when you use a ton of modded blocks, but I can't help it because I love this. Oh, and of course, speaking of mods, let's add some HarvestCraft crops right in here. You might have noticed that these are actually summer crops. And no, these little farms right here will not have any glass in them. And you're probably thinking to yourself that Captain made another classic blunder, and he's planting a bunch of crops that are out of season out in the open. And well, I definitely could see myself doing that, don't get me wrong. But right now, I actually think I know what I want here. I'm getting ready for summer. So let's keep this going and make even more terraces. Also, very quickly, I add a smoker so that we can cook up some of our taters, because now I actually have a little change to our plan. I think we can sell baked potatoes for just a little bit more. So I get back to making even more plots and baking up even more potatoes all night long. I also use trapdoors at the bottom here to hold the water in place, and now I can manage to stack 2 of these terraces on top of each other to yet again save even more space. I also use redwood trapdoors. I think they look pretty good. By the start of day 23, we almost have our 6 new plots ready to go. And while yes, I admit we could make one massive open farm and we still might do that, I wanted to take a moment here to make a little bit of space for each different type of crop by itself. Now I probably can't do this for every single crop in HarvestCraft, there's hundreds of them, but I still like setting this up for some of my favorite crops. For example, we're now going to add peanuts to this last one. And also, I'm really liking these chili peppers, so we add those to this plot as well. And honestly, at the end of the day, I'm doing all of this just because it looks good. There's nothing wrong with being functional and fashionable at the same time. Finally, we get some jute planting in the bottom plots here, which do give us more string. But this mod pack has so many more crops coming next season. And if we want to buy them all, we're going to have to get even more potatoes growing to make even more emeralds. And speaking of adding even more crops, these wild, open prairies full of amber waves of grain are just begging to be turned into fertile farmland. Now I'd really like to put all of our crops in nice little nestled greenhouses or up here in their own Terrace plots. But to be honest with you guys, there's just way too many crops in HarvestCraft. If I want to make any real progress, I need as many crops growing as fast as I can as soon as the season starts. And we still have plenty of time tonight to make our plots look just a little bit nicer. Adding these lanterns are the perfect last little detail to make these plots look exactly how I imagined. I also spend a bit of time adding some more stairs to make it easier for me to walk up and down the hillside next to my farm. Now I have this small beach spot here that I can walk up and down. Now, if you don't care about that stairway at all, you'll definitely care about this. We just made our first sale. We now have 10 emeralds for just 25 baked potatoes. That's amazing. I don't even really know how that works. What's the math there? It's 1 emerald for every 2.5 baked potatoes. You know what? I'm not going to think about it too much. Honestly, I'll just take my paycheck and be happy. Day 24 starts, and the rain keeps coming down. Or does it? The world reloads, and for the first time in this 100 days, we have sunlight. What a beautiful bit of sunlight it is. Finally, we get to see our world in the light, and it's even more perfect than I could have hoped for. Seeing this bright green grass pop, the warm glowing sun rays, and the shining water reflecting this gorgeous world on the river bend is truly warming my heart. And all of that's not to mention how great my house looks with some sunshine pouring down on it. I welcome in the new summer by adding one more plot very quickly. To be honest, I'm more excited about this big farmland over here though. The summer has more crops than any other season, so now we have a whole new world open up to us. And as the sun sets in this nice, warm summer night, I'm getting ready to completely change the entire farm. But I think it's a good idea that we take care of our old crops first. I only want spring crops down here in the greenhouse. If any of these crops can grow in summer, then they're going to be transplanted up. Honestly, that's kind of a lot. Most of these crops get moved out, which is perfect because this makes room for each crop to have 4 spots of its own. And now we can even move in some of our autumn crops as well. At the end of the day, we still have some more room down here. I also decided to put some papyrus in the Terrace plot. Honestly, I have no idea what papyrus does, but okay. Then finally, we head over to the big open farm. Now we're going to start to set out all of our summer crops. Again, I'm going to try to give each crop 4 little spots so that we can get a decent amount of them when they grow. And I do mean try, because I guess while I'm farming, I'm also dealing with being shot. Must be a bad neighborhood, I guess. Just as the sun comes up on day 25, marking the end of our first quarter in this world, I have to say, getting to see the first full sunrise of our world is pretty magical. And all of these new crops are making the wide landscape colorful and full of growth. Combine that with the sunrise and I've never been more excited for a build. So with that being said, let's just rush on in and buy all the crops we possibly can, right? Well, first let's try to find the crops on our own. We make a nature's compass and then I go back to making stairs. Look, the truth is, in summer, we're going to have a huge income of crops no matter what we do, and we're going to need somewhere to store them all. So we connect the roof of the house over to this hillside. Then we start to dig down into the hill. That's right. We're going to start to build our next project into the hillside. I'm still not 100% sure how this is going to work out, because I mean, after all, there's not too many tutorials on YouTube about building your base halfway underground, but I'm definitely still excited to give it a try. Starting by adding some bricks. I figured using planks, like I do in most of my builds, kind of seems wrong underground, right? Like planks would start to rot if they were down in the dirt, right? As I continue to open up this room more and more, I'm really starting to think that I can see this whole thing coming together. The bricks going in are already a good start. I like how they look, and now I can start to work on the ceiling. Using some slabs and trapdoors, it makes a pretty cozy little vibe down here. So far so good. But I do have to take a quick break. I take a quick moment and start to mass up our dough, and with a little bit of salt, I make some pretzels. I'm going to need some food because I have to stop what I'm doing anyway and go out and collect a little bit more clay. Bricks aren't cheap, you guys. So I throw the clay into the furnaces and I head back down into the mines. We grab some diamonds, which is good, but the real reason we're here is to try to find some lava. We find some, but sadly it is down here in the middle of the deep dark. Now I don't really play with this version of Minecraft too much, so I really don't know the rules on how this stuff works. I'm pretty sure the whole gimmick is that you have to be quiet, and I don't really want to find out what happens if you don't. Luckily, turning all the lava into obsidian doesn't wake anything up, so now we can grab some of it, and soon we're ready to get out of here. Which is still kind of a challenge. Once again, I run out of food, and now I break my shield. This means I'm forced to go back to eating rotten flesh. Yeah, I'm not loving it. Once again, I end up with no health and no food. This time though, I do have a new plan. I go into my backpack and I start to eat some of the crops that we've grown. Not exactly great, although I gotta admit it's definitely better than zombie steaks. But finally, we do manage to find our way out by day 28. Just before I leave the cave though, I decide to set down our nether portal. And you know me, I always try to set this thing far away from my house. Also, we do get to add a few more pieces of diamond armor to our collection. But let's be real, more importantly, we hungry. So we make ourselves some strawberry jelly with some strawberries and sugar, but that's only our beginning. We then get some peanuts to make into peanut butter, and I think you guys know where this is going. Soon, after crafting up the peanut butter, we can then make some dough and turn this into bread. That's right, we're going to be making some good old PB&J. And soon, we add this classic dish to our recipe chest. And that's great for sure, but to be honest with you guys, the best part about this, now we have a food that covers 4 of the 5 nutrition bars in our diet. But one of those nutrients is sugar, but more on that later. For now, it's time to get spicy and head into the nether. But of course, it can never be easy. We spawn on like a legit micro island floating in the sky. I don't know if I've ever done this before. I'd be laughing about this honestly if I wasn't crying. But after getting some stone and building ourselves a little bridge, we can quickly grab the quartz, which is the reason that we came here. Then we get back to the surface to see the open summer farm is coming along pretty well. Next up, we'll just grab some quick coal too. And by quick, I mean we stay out all night getting some. We come back home on day 30 and we turn the coal into coal blocks. Then we turn our quartz into quartz blocks. We can use these to make kitchen floor tiles. I love these blocks. Pretty much a must-have for whenever I'm making a kitchen. And yes, that is what our new underground room is going to be. Speaking of which, once we have all of our tiles turned into red tiles, we start to set them out on the floor. By the time we're done, this room is already starting to come together. Once we get some lanterns in place too, the cozy and intimate vibes are really coming together here. Of course, it's not truly a kitchen just yet. We have a mod that lets us cook up some rotten flesh into leather, once again keeping us from harming any cows, and with some papyrus we can craft up some paper. I think I kind of already knew that that's what papyrus was going to be used for. Now we make a book, and we cook the book. I swear that's always funny, I'll never stop laughing at that. Next, we can craft up a kitchen sink. Basically, it's a 1-block infinite water source. It's pretty neat. But what's also pretty neat is kitchen counters. Basically, these are all chests that all link together and share one big inventory if they're touching each other. So we head into the kitchen, and we start to set them down. The gaps in the corners can easily be filled in with, kitchen corners. And the middle gap right there, well, you'll see about that soon. For now, I do get a little bit distracted here, but can you blame me? Check out that sunset. I've got to say, the farmer's life really does suit me. Speaking of, we now move our crops from the bedroom chest into the kitchen counters. So, at the start of day 32, we can now head back down into the mines. Now I'm hoping that this one will actually be a quick trip, but yeah, let's be honest, this is me we're talking about. Once again, we're heading down here looking for some diamonds. Of course, these can take a long time to find, so it's a good thing that we brought all these sandwiches to fill up our tummies. Right? You already know when I say it like that we're in trouble. But for now, our diet looks pretty well balanced. And even better news, we do find those diamonds. And lots of them. In fact, we find so many right here that I could probably easily head back to the surface right now. Perfect. But then again, I could give in to my greed and just stay down here and keep looking for more diamonds. So of course we already know it's more diamonds and more Sammys. Until we run into this witch. But this shouldn't be a big deal. Even though we got poisoned, it should be an easy kill, and then we'll just pause for a second here and get all our health back. So that's just what we do. Smartly, I stop in this little hole here, and I eat some sandwiches, till our health is all the way back. However, I see that for some reason, I now have hunger 4. Did I eat some rotten flesh by accident there? At the moment, I didn't really truly understand what was happening. And I keep on eating more and more sandwiches, making things even worse. See, the problem is the sandwiches have a lot of sugar in them. And now my diet has 83% on sugars, a critical level. Too much sugar in your diet causes hunger for. A little ironic, I think. I still didn't quite understand what was going on here. So to refill my depleting hunger bar, I kept on eating more sandwiches, making it worse and worse and worse. Wait a minute. Sandwich? And we got poisoned from a witch? I'm seeing the conspiracy theory here. It's an inside job, you guys. This goes all the way to the top for sure. Even though I did run out of food, and things were getting a little bit dicey there, I managed to quickly find a way to swim all the way back up to the river by my house. It's a good thing too, because it definitely seems like that might have saved us. Maybe. I'm still in a little bit of trouble here. We still have hunger for and way too much sugar. I need to figure out how to get cooking up a better diet and fast. Sadly, with no other food on hand and my hunger bar actually legit at 0, to stop from dying, I have to eat another sandwich, making the problem even worse. So now, I quickly decide to grab some corn, and with a little bit of milk in a mixing bowl, we can make a brand new dish. Some cornflakes. Now, of course, I do prefer the frosted flakes, but maybe we could take a little bit of break on the frosting. Just for now. After all, it's summer, and we definitely need to consider about working on our beach bod. I put away our sandwiches as night falls, and now definitely my #1 priority is trying to find a good food that doesn't have too much sugar in it. Okay though, now let's see if this whole sugar headache was actually worth it. The reason we had gotten those diamonds in the first place was to help us make the cooking book level 2. This is what you need to make your cooking table. This is a key item that will make our whole kitchen come together. Literally, by putting this in the middle of our kitchen counters, all of them connect. And this lets us cook the dishes as if we had all of these crops in our inventory all at the same time. So that means a quick tip of the cap to the Cooking for Blockheads mod. It gives you all these great kitchen items. We can even set all of our cooking utensils from PAM'S HARVESTCRAFT in this counter, and it'll still count as if they're in my inventory when I use the cooking table. And so now that we actually have the kitchen all set up and working pretty well, let's test it out. I decide first to cook up some apple muffins, which I gotta be honest with you, they sound great right now. But I also do see that there's a good deal of baked items, and those need to be put in a smoker. And honestly, that's no biggie though. Now, let's set this muffin in the new menu chest over here at the side of the kitchen. Then, just before we do any cooking, let's head out into the farms and make one big harvesting run, just to see what we really have going on here. Once we set this awesome collection of fresh produce all in the counters here, the options in the cooking table completely change. For example, this apple fritter does sound pretty good. Oh, and of course we can make ourselves a pie. But first, let's try this. We craft up some salt, which we can get instantly using the kitchen sink. Then we can make a ton of flour, using, well, honestly, anything that you can turn into flour, instantly. Then we turn all that into dough, and next, bake all of this dough into bread. All we have to do is run this into the shipping bin, and hopefully, this will actually make some decent sales. But before we completely sell out, I do want to save some of the dough so that we can in fact make one of those pies. A blackberry pie, to be exact. Now I'll be honest, maybe not my favorite, but like, let's be super honest here. A blackberry pie is still like an amazing pie. Like, come on, everyone, you know you guys would crush this, don't lie. Next up, speaking of unhealthy, we make some butter. And now we really have a ton of options in the cooking table. Candied sweet potatoes, not bad. A biscuit as well. And then we can actually make some candy canes. We can have our own little Christmas in July here. Now some corn chips, as well as some corn on the cob, along with some cornmeal. I told you guys we're going to use a lot of corn. But also, there are some cheesy puffs and a croissant as well. We grab an egg tart, and then, look at this. You can use some redstone and make an energy drink. I actually think that's kind of funny if you think about it. I don't know why the idea of a monster being made out of glowy, shiny red rocks found in the ground is so fun, but I do like it. So let's keep the junk food train going here and also get some onion rings. But eventually, we're going to have to bring it back to Earth, and we get ourselves a fruit salad and a little bit of grits too. Now, we can move all of these new dishes into the recipe chest. And I'm seeing that we're definitely going to be filling this thing up in no time. Honestly, if we just take like a minute here, this is kind of crazy. I already think this chest is really impressive. I do have a little extra copies of some of the dishes, and I set these over in another chest here. But I've already decided I'm going to fill up this first recipe chest, so let's do it. We add some liver and onions. Okay, that's not a great start. But some P8, and yes, that does stand for PAM8. Sounds much better. We're almost full. Come on now. We get a sweet berry pie and a sweet pickle up next. We do get ourselves some sorbet, but man, that sounds a little too sweet for me. I gotta be careful there. But with it, barely, just barely, we do fill this whole chest in. A whole chest full of amazing Pam's HarvestCraft meals. But we aren't even close to being done. Now, let's get back into this farm. Let's expand it and take it to the next level. First, we start by adding some melons and some beets. Okay, hold on, it gets a lot better, I promise you. Because now we can grab our nature's compass and search for a jungle biome. Luckily, we find one, and it's not too far away from here. So, just as day 30 is starting to end, we get in the river and we head out. Down our little river, into the ocean, and on into the sunset. Already by that night, I think I see it, which is good. But sadly, what's not so good is I can't find any gardens. The jungle biome should have tropical gardens, and this would really help us a bunch, get us a lot of summer crops. First, we gotta find one though. Of course, I'm definitely not gonna say no to getting some cocoa beans. Honestly with you guys, this alone could be the biggest crop for us right now. But I do keep searching for a little bit more. I go through this bamboo jungle, and on and on and on and on, yet at the end of this day too, still nothing. The cocoa beans are definitely worth the trip though, don't get me wrong, but if we really want to get all of our HarvestCraft crops, we're gonna need to find another way. To be totally honest with you guys, my guess for what's going on here is that gardens take a little bit of time to spawn in. So if you're just running into new biomes, they don't really have a chance to show up. That is a little unfortunate, I guess. You gotta plan that into your HarvestCraft playthroughs if you guys are gonna do this. To be honest though, I'm not even that upset. A short little journey down the river was definitely a nice break either way. I do get to place my cocoa beans on a tree, and at this moment, I had totally forgot that you have to put them on a jungle tree. And what's even worse is, I also forgot to grab jungle saplings. The good news is that maybe we can actually buy our way out of this stupidity. With 30 emeralds, we could definitely buy a ton of great seeds right here, but I actually have a better idea. Instead, let's buy ourselves some HarvestCraft trees. First, I need to plan out a good area where I'm going to plant them all. To be honest with you, I hadn't really thought about this much prior to this. Then again, this flat hilltop here is a perfect area that we've been growing all of our vanilla oak trees, and it's worked pretty well. Let's see how it does for growing some fruit trees now. And so, I start to head down the list. Apple, classic. A chestnut. A gooseberry, not really sure what that even is, but okay. Avocado, I definitely know that one. Candlenut. Cherry. Peach. And then I find a little room for my walnut tree as well. Plum. Oranges. I think we got another peach tree here. What was I doing? Well, a pear comes up next, either way. And nutmeg too. Lemon, that one's going to be really important later. And by the next day, we get another batch of trees ready to go. Starting with cinnamon, then soursop, another one I'm not super sure about, but okay. Cashew tree, the apricot, which is fine, not nearly as good as the banana tree. Then we get our pawpaw tree, spiderweb for string, coconut tree. Now we've really got the summer vibes. Hazelnut is up next. If we manage to find some room for it, I guess. Almond goes next, and I think that that's going to be it for now. I take a well-deserved cheesy puff break right in the middle of the heat of the day. Then I get back to buying even more trees, all the way to the very bottom of my bank account. And now, unfortunately, I'm broke in-game as well. But it's not all bad, because the summer fruits are already starting to grow in. Trees in HarvestCraft are actually a little bit OP, honestly. They don't need to be replanted or dealt with at all, and I swear these things grow so fast. So obviously, with that being said, might as well add some more, right? Ptarmigan, then jackfruit, guava, rambutan, lychee, vanilla bean, passion fruit, breadfruit, and no, we're still not done. Now I can dig in my backpack and bring out a whole bunch more, like persimmon, lime, dragon fruit, grapefruit, pomegranate, olive, paperback, I think you guys know what that's for, mango, and a date tree. Then papaya, durian, pecan, starfruit, fig, and finally, peppercorn. This one's a big deal too. I will admit, a little out of breath after that one there. That was a big undertaking. And in fact, it took us so long to purchase and plant all those trees that some of our jungle trees are already starting to grow too. Now, we can add our cocoa beans to them, and my plan is coming together perfectly. The rest of my day is spent just going around picking any of the summer fruits that have already started to show up overnight. We stash them in a new counter in the kitchen, and just before we call it a night, we grab all the wheat from the farms. We turn this into bread as fast as we can. Sadly, it wasn't fast enough though, because we didn't get all this bread into the shipping bin before midnight, so we won't be getting our emeralds till tomorrow night. Ah yes, the bright, warm summer sunrise. And on day 41, we get our first soybeans into the ground too. A game changer, but we'll get back to that soon enough. For now, I'm starving. Literally, we need to cook, Jesse. And I make some biscuits and gravy. But before I get too carried away here in the kitchen, let's talk about all of those trees we just planted. Adding all of those fruits, the nuts, and even the cocoa beans completely changes our menu. Now, I've always thought that animal products were the big turning point in HarvestCraft, and I definitely still think that's true. But the trees might be just as big. We, of course, start this off by making a ton of chocolatey desserts. In this second recipe chest that we've begun, we've already got a lot of chocolate-covered treats in here. But let's get out into the fields. We get another harvest going, because if we combine all the ground crops with all of our brand new tree crops, we should have some great new goodies coming our way. We start out with a fruit salad, because we do need some help with our diet after all. And this does pay off, because look at all these hearts. I mean, we are living good here. As the sun sets, I take a short walk through my new little orchard here. I have to say, guys, this is coming together perfectly. Our cozy little home is now surrounded by growth and life. On top of our hill, and with the greenhouse even below our feet, we can now harvest our spring crops from the greenhouse as well. And all of these almost fill up an entire counter by themselves. Now, we're going to be cooking, starting with some tater tots. Why not some strawberry soda too? My sugar's a little bit out of control, but why not? One drink can't hurt. Next up, we continue this bad idea train with some potato chips and a little bit of potato soup and fries too. Also, now that I'm selling a ton of bread, I don't really have to save up all my potatoes, and I can make a ton of potato things now. Speaking of selling my bread, we get 54 emeralds. Ooh, yes, I will take that for sure. Just like a irresponsible gambler, the second I get my huge paycheck, I spend every penny. Now that we've bought every single tree, we can finally start to fill out our collection of ground crop seeds. At the start of day 52, I take a little detour to plant 4 jungle saplings right here on the shore of the riverbank. but soon enough, we start to get back to the seeds and start putting them all in the ground. First, let's get our spring crops in the greenhouse. Asparagus and broccoli is a good start, with some Brussels sprouts, cabbage, but soon we do run out of space down here. So let's head up top, out to the big farm and get the rest of our seeds put in the ground. Once we have a little bit of space, we add the beans, blueberries, and cactus fruit to begin, and then we have to get back to the shop. Here, we load up with every single seed that we don't already have collected ourselves. Remember, I've been playing for 42 days, staying pretty focused on farming and collecting as many seeds as I can. To be honest, I don't even think I'm about halfway done getting all these seeds on my own. If we didn't have this market right here, it might take us an entire 100 days just to find all the crops, let alone grow them. Not in these 100 days. Whatever it costs, we're getting every single crop in HarvestCraft no matter what. Starting off with some of the new crops like the cloudberry, then the classic rice, sesame, tea leaf. I mean, of course we're going to get that one, come on. Then truffles too, also new. And we still have a ton more to come. In order to fit them all, we do have to expand the farm a little bit more. But that right there was not exactly what I wanted to do. But it's okay, I guess. But hey, I'm too excited about growing more crops, so I guess I won't let it bug me too much. It does take us all night, but we fix up this hole and get the dirt level all flat so we can get in the rest of our seeds. Open up the backpack, and let's get back to it. Water chestnut. I'm trying to set 4 plots for each, just like I always do. Rye. Taro. Tomato. Spice leaf. Millet. Kiwi. Yucca. Pineapple. Kniff. Kohlrabi. Raspberry, mulberry, okra, peas, radish, coffee, cotton, green apple, cantaloupe, our red grapes, ginger, and ooh, that was a lot of crops. This is the HarvestCraft dream, ladies and gentlemen. Well, at least it is for right now. As long as that list was, and yes, I am very out of breath after going through it all, HarvestCraft always gives us just a little bit more. But for now, I think I need to take a break here. After all, we gotta give these summer crops some time to grow and fill out the farm properly. Now it's true, we still have a whole backpack full of seeds, but for the most part, these are all autumn seeds, so there's no rush to get them in the ground. I told you, HarvestCraft always has more for us. Speaking of more, let's add something onto the base here. Nothing too crazy or anything like that, but I don't really love how I have to run from the big farm all the way around into the house just to get over to my kitchen. Maybe I could add like a little passageway down here, a shortcut that goes into the kitchen to run all the crops in a little bit easier. I even decide to add in some tiles here. I make them blue to distinguish them from the kitchen red tiles. And this passage is honestly already pretty complete. But yeah, I gotta say, it doesn't really feel that cozy, does it? In fact, this wandering trader doesn't even want to go inside. Ugh, that's how you know it's bad. So, just before the sun sets, I decide we're going to make a quick little bit of bread here by making a quick little bit of bread here. Get it? Because it's like you make... No? Okay, anyway, never mind. The point is, we now have 19 emeralds, and we can use these to buy some of the cool trees that wandering traveler had. We plant the cherry down, and then we plant down a rainbow tree right here. I then decide to put another one a little bit further away. I think that the leaves of the rainbow tree change depending on the coordinates of which they're planted, or something. I mean, I guess we'll find out. At the start of the next day, we get back to fixing up our new little passageway and making it look just a little bit better here. See, in my head, this underground kitchen that we've been working with, I kind of look at it like a little hobbit hole and a small spruce entrance should fit this look perfectly. But one thing I'm definitely seeing for sure is that having all this dirt here in the hallway, that really doesn't look right. It just screams like unfinished and unloved. So let's grab some more clay and start to make some more bricks. Might as well harvest our cocoa too while we're out here on the way back home. Oh, and since we're out here, we might as well take the cocoa and add it to the side of the mega jungle tree. Not only do we have a cocoa farm of sorts over here, but this tree also helps balance out the whole look of the base when you look at it from a distance. Now, let's get those bricks and set them in place here in the passageway. This is definitely looking much, much better, but it still feels a little cramped and a little dark in here. Not so cozy and humble, in my opinion. With that being said, I decided to take a hammer to this entire wall. Let's expand it out exactly 1 block, making it a 2-wide hallway. To be honest with you, in the very beginning, I was really only thinking of making this like a ladder, a quick way to go up and down to get back to the farm quicker. But the more and more that I work on it, the more and more I want it to be a truly good-looking second entrance into our base. I also decided to add some more log supports in the hallway. This way it will match with the kitchen and it will seem more integrated with the entire framework of this whole area. Now, the problem is that this kitchen looks so good, it kind of puts the hallway to shame. Looks like we're going to have to put just a little bit more love into it. Finally, we get the last little bits of the kitchen tile all in place on the floor, but the ceiling it's just too low, and it's no good. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind it being a little tight and intimate in here, but I am going to have to move the ceiling up even just a little bit here. It gives us just a little bit of depth. This also gives us a perfect spot to add some lanterns, and this matters because these brighten up this nook so well. Now we add in the rest of our bricks on this side of the wall, but they only go up to a certain point. Then the rest will be planks moving up the top, combined with lanterns that keep this whole path looking bright and warm. I have to say, this whole impromptu little walkway turned into a pretty good cozy little addition. This hallway, though small, adds to the personality of this whole cozy small hobbit-like hill vibe. I think it fits well not only with the kitchen, but also kind of keeps the spruce cottage vibe from the above parts of the base too. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about this a little bit more than I should. I just like the idea of having all of these hallways that connect the different parts of the base. I don't know, I can't explain it. I just like it. I also like a little blackberry smoothie in the morning. Now we're heading out to pick some fresh fruit as the sun rises on another warm summer day. In addition to all these fruits, we're also starting to get a few of our tree nuts as well. And this is kind of important here. I don't want to undersell this. A lot of the dishes in HarvestCraft need nuts or butters that are made from nuts. See, in truth, all of these fruits are more or less interchangeable. You don't need to have a specific tree for every single dish. Really, just plant the ones that you like. Just grow your favorite food, like bananas. And make sure to combine that with your favorite type of nut, like these almonds. They should be pretty good. Okay, back into the kitchen. Let's see just how good all these things really are. I used some fresh coconut that we just grabbed to make some coconut chocolate bars. Then we can use some of the nuts and the chocolate to make Reese's peanut butter cups. And even a little bit of trail mix too. See, with trail mix, you can use any type of fruit. That's kind of what I've been talking about. But when it comes to recipes that have ground crops, you pretty much have to use the right ones every single dish. Like for us, we're going to need to add some spinach. What we don't have to do is stop and admire our little house, but we're gonna. By day 47, the sun comes up over this rainbow tree, which has grown some bright teal leaves. But I am definitely going to need way more growth for our next project. We head across the river to plant more spruce. And while those all grow, we spend a little bit of time spreading our crops. The summer crops, like all of these ones, are growing super fast up here. We're very quickly filling out this entire farm. Pretty well. The rain does start to pour down on our heads this evening, but I don't even care. The progress of this farm coming right along keeps me warm on the inside. Does that make... I think. Then we head over to this part of the farm and collect all of the mature crops here as well. I'm about to drop all these crops off when I take a look at this big empty patch of the farm, and I gotta say, it just kind of looks sad. So even though a lot of these crops that I'm grabbing out of my backpack are all autumn crops, I'm going to start planting them in this empty patch either way. So, once again, here we go. Rhubarb, chickpeas, celery, scallions, jicama, leeks, even though I think we might already have these. Anyway, oats, huckleberry, cauliflower, quinoa, rutabaga, cranberry, kale, eggplant, white mushroom, or never mind. We have so many crops planted, I think we might have run out of space here. And breath, honestly. I think I need to sit down. We do manage to find a little room over here and get our mushrooms in the ground. And before we leave, let's grab all this wheat as well. And yes, all of this is going to be turned into bread, but I might as well make this delicious pineapple upside down cake. It will totally, completely wreck our diet, but you don't tell, I won't. Finally, on day 48, the rain keeps on pouring down. A little bit chilly in the air now that autumn has finally arrived. But that's okay. To be honest with you, the progress that we've made in the past 2 seasons is really showing off. We take a little second here to look at our beautiful farmstead. Until a new visitor comes by, that is, a wandering winemaker. Let's Do Vinery has blessed us with some grapes so that we can make ourselves a little vineyard. Or at least I would if I knew what I was doing here. I see all these grapes and seeds, and I gotta be honest, I was pretty overwhelmed. For now, I walk away and stay focused on getting enough spruce for our next project. So, about that next project. I start to set out our logs right down at the shoreline, building up about 5 blocks high. But come on guys, it's still me we're talking about. You know that I immediately get distracted. I buy one of each of the winemaker seeds. So I've got them all, right? Well, okay, this mistake right here it's actually kind of heartbreaking. Honestly, this right here is pretty much the reason why we will definitely be doing an entire video on the Let's Do mod pack. See, I didn't really understand the whole Let's Do Vinery because it turns out there's actually 6 different grapes. He was selling 5 of them, but I only bought 3 seeds. Yeah, a huge fumble on my part. I'm really sorry about that, guys. Even with just these 3 seeds, we can still have a little bit of fun. Trust me. Speaking of fun, let's get back to our build. I try to line up this new build to match the old greenhouse. Now, pretty quickly, I can start to get all of the logs and the supports set down. I'm trying to make them more or less match the same look of our first build over there. So, in that spirit, I pretty much make the frame an exact copy. Now, as you're watching this, you might be thinking to yourself, it's a little bit boring. But also, can you blame me? After all, the first one came out so beautifully. Just like that first one, we do have to remove some of the dirt from the hillside. However, to be honest with you, this time it's on a whole new level. Like seriously, I think this build is going to be almost like more underground than above it. I have to go craft up another pick and another shovel, but since I'm here anyway, I decide why not try to plant some of these new grapes that we just bought. The Tiga White goes right in this planter right here. Perfect, no problem at all. Now the jungle grape doesn't want to do that until, look at that, a vine is growing up the side of my house now. And what's even more weird, the Savannah grape only wants to grow in like this one little area here. No idea what's going on with this one. While we let those grow, let's get back to our build. By the way, if it seems like I keep on going back and forth between 2 projects, welcome to my brain. Although this time, I do actually force myself to stay on task long enough to work all day and into the night. At the start of our next day, I clear out all the stone and even add in the dirt. Yep, that's right. We're starting the second half of this world with what else but another farm. More good news, the jungle grape is in fact growing and making new grapes already. I have no idea where to put these, so whatever. I guess I'll just place them right back here. Why not? As for the savanna grapes, well, I'm really struggling on figuring out how they work. It was kind of feeling like they didn't want to grow anywhere, but they do go down right here for some reason. Okay, well that doesn't matter. We're gonna go back to the new build again. Just like last time, we're adding another border all the way around the top out of slabs. Unfortunately, this runs us dry, so it's right back to getting more spruce. Not too bad though, because with Tree Harvester, I can cut down like, I don't know, what is this? 15 trees all at once. Yeah, gotta like that. So with all this brand new wood, we do finish our border, and of course we move on to adding the glass. If it isn't already clear to you guys, clear glass. Anyway, yes, we are actually going to be making a twin greenhouse with basically the exact same design. Well, almost the same. There are going to be some big changes coming up, but that's later. For now, we get right back to running those logs down the middle just like we did before. And now we're adding in all the small details, just like we did before. Pretty soon, the top is looking pretty good. And now we just have a few small things that we have to add up here. Nothing crazy. Luckily, since I've done this before, I know exactly what I'm doing. And this can get done pretty quickly. So, when it's all said and done, this entire farm here is pretty much perfect in less than 2 days. Not too bad. Once the lanterns are in place, the balance here is looking pretty good. The two matching greenhouses are really coming together. Now, we add some fences as well, making sure to leave openings in the right places, like right here, so that we can walk in and out pretty easily. Even though I don't need to add fences, not really. After all, there's this giant stone wall here. Pretty sure the fence isn't really doing anything, putting it back on this side. I still do it because I like the symmetry. Now here is the real big change. I mean, obviously, think about it. I'm not going to build a copy of my first little cottage up here as well. So, what's actually going to go on top of this greenhouse? Now, to be honest, when I was playing this and originally building this, I was thinking I was going to be making my barn for my chickens, but putting the animals on top of glass kind of seems wrong, like not the best idea. Instead, I start to build the rim of this up a little bit, and then I start to add slabs over the glass, where we can then add the dirt on top of them. Yep, that's right. We're going to be putting dirt up here and making another farm. This is going to be a double-decker greenhouse. I think. I want to make sure I can actually pull it off before I make any promises, and make sure it looks good. So I go around trying to do a little bit of a redesign here. I want to make this all work. Oh, and also I do have to be concerned about being shot up here. Yeah, once again, not the best neighborhood. Now, I take a moment to do another pass here, making the border on the second floor look a little bit better. Right now, because we've elevated this above the glass, the dirt is going to be pretty high up here. I have to make sure I can even walk up here in the first place. Like I said, I do not like the look of exposed dirt, whether it's the bottom or even up here on the sides. So once again, spruce trapdoors are here, save the day. Where would I be without these things? Still, the upper part is totally new to me, so it does take me some time to design this, work it all out, and figure out what I'm doing here. Seriously, I think this takes me an entire day. The sun is setting, and I just now figure out how to make a staircase to get up to the farm that'll look pretty good. That being said, once it's all done, I do think it was time well spent. Still, we need even more spruce as the next day starts, and still need to waste all that spruce, making way too many spruce supports. See, I kind of like the idea that the lower half of the greenhouse has these big, thick logs. It's made so it can support the weight of not only the first farm, but the second one as well. This farm on the top, however, I want to make the framework here a little bit lighter, and maybe even give it a similar look to those mini Terrace plots that I made before. So I used the extra blocks, including the spruce log piles, and I set them in the exact same way that I did over there. But to break things up, I am going to be adding some leaves hanging down from the piles to once again make this look like it's overgrown as well. Better yet, why not add some vines to make it really look overgrown? And of course, you guys probably already saw this coming, why not add some more jacaranda leaves? I just couldn't help myself here. I also go out that night and get more flower leaves, because we're going to be adding these as well. By day 55, the look is really coming together. I think this could be pretty awesome, but we aren't done just yet. For now, I decide to get distracted once again. As I take some of these jungle grape seeds, I'm going to be adding them to the inside of the kitchen. Along with all of these hanging glowberries I've added, I feel like this gives the whole place a growing fresh grapes and berries look, like we're eating them right off the vine as we're cooking. Next, we head back out to start to add all of the glass to the greenhouse once again. And yes, this top level will be a greenhouse as well. It will be an official double greenhouse. That is pretty good. The fact that at the start of day 56, the world does another reload means that now we're in mid-autumn already. I mean, man, autumn has really flown by. And this entire time, winter is coming. So let's not get too distracted anymore here. We need to make sure that we're actually ready. To do this, we're going to be adding more grapevines to the outside of the new greenhouse, of course. Yeah, this is totally a core part of getting ready for winter. Trust me. Next, we're actually going to have to finally adapt and change with the seasons. Now that summer is over, I take all of my summer-only crops and move them out of the Terrace plots. However, remember, crops like corn and onions grow in autumn too, so these ones can stay. However, we will still be losing some crops, like the peanuts and the chili peppers. God, I do love these so much. But at the same time, it's not really fair to leave them out in these chilly nights anymore, so we're gonna have to take them away. Wait a minute. Is that a pun? Because they're chili pepper? Okay, I'm gonna stop. We won't have to worry about those poor summer crops for long, though. After all, we do have a brand new greenhouse. How convenient is this? They should keep them nice and warm all year. Once again, we start to set all of our crops down in 4-spot plots. After working with this size all year, I do feel like this is going to work out perfectly. Now I head back out to the big open farm, and there is some bad news. Most of these crops out here are all summer crops. But there is a little bit of good news too, because the plot right here that's full of autumn crops are going to be right at home, and they've already been growing this entire time. Finally, something about autumn we can actually be happy about. These new crops are happily in their own season for the very first time. Now, autumn does have the least amount of crops in HarvestCraft, aside from winter, obviously. So this small farm isn't as impressive as our giant summer one, to be sure, but a lot of these crops are really fun to me. They remind me of the holidays, and I don't know, I just really like them. So with that, we're starting to fill up the Terrace plots, first with tea, you know I would, then kohlrabi, ginger, and some sweet potatoes are pretty cool too. I do head back to the brand new greenhouse, and I start to set out all of the summer crops that we just picked. I sure don't want them to feel unloved. With all of these crops that we just pulled out of the big open farm, we've almost already filled up the entire upper greenhouse. But with all this work we've been doing, I am getting a little hungry. So we head into the kitchen to cook up some broccoli mac and cheese. First off, this is obviously a brand new recipe, so that's good. But also, what's really good is that this hits grains, proteins, and veggies. Plus, let's be real, it's broccoli and cheese, so yes, I'm gonna take a ton of this. As day 57 starts, I go down into the first greenhouse where we can harvest up a bunch of broccoli, and I have to say, it's always nice to see my loyal day 1 spring crops are safe and looking good. We cook up some asparagus quiche, yum. Then, just as we promised, we crank out a few of the broccoli mac and cheese. I then see that with all the work we've been doing to prepare for autumn, we haven't been doing too much work to fill up our recipe chest. So right now, we're going to take a break, and we're going to do that. For example, we'll get some juices, and use those to make a berry vinaigrette salad. Okay, I'm not a huge salad guy, but even I have to admit, that sounds pretty good. Then we make some Rice Krispie treats. Okay, that's a little bit more my speed. We then add these new dishes into the chest, and next up, we can cook some mushroom risotto. Okay, that one might be the best so far. Then of course, we get the classic pierogi. There's always going to be a place in my heart for this one. And I decide to craft up a few of them too. Next, we can also make some seasonal pumpkin bread, and why not get some rice cakes too? Then a stuffed eggplant. That's perfect. Now I'm actually really getting hungry. Then, for dessert, we even get a torropita. Adding all of these to the chest makes it look pretty impressive all by itself. The second chest here is already looking pretty good. Just before we go, I do make some fruit punch, because I am going to have to work on that part of my diet too, and now we're ready to get back to work. Right at the end of the day, we get all the glass in place over the new summer greenhouse. Next up, as the night falls, we also get a chance to add some lanterns, and this lights up all of our crops pretty well. This does, however, also use up all of our iron, so we're going to have to run back into the mines really quickly and try to get a little more. But hey, look at that. For once, I went down into the mine to grab resources, and then I actually immediately came back home. Wow, that's like character growth right there. Just before the next night falls, we get all of this iron in the furnace, and then this happens. Actual heartbreak. A creeper explosion right in the middle of my farm. Now, I spend all night trying to fill out the dirt and hopefully collecting all the crops. I'm pretty upset about this, if I'm being totally honest, guys. I'm afraid I might have actually lost some crops here. We do get some peas growing in this last Terrace, so there's at least that. But in truth, most of the crops that the creeper blew up were summer crops, so the fact that we get to pick them and move them was going to have to happen either way. So with that, in the upper part of this greenhouse, every crop in here is officially a summer crop. I do think we may have lost some crops though, but still, I can't get too upset though. After all, this cozy little farm is looking pretty good. So let's see if we can't get the bottom half to look as nice as the top half. First of all though, we are going to be doing something a little bit different down here. We're actually going to be setting out a huge plot of soybeans, filling almost a quarter of this farm. Although next, we get right back to our 4-plot system with coffee and a little bit of scallions as well. We get cauliflower, chickpeas, that kennef back in there, and a little bit of the radishes too. However, it still is nagging at the back of my brain that I may have lost some crops in that creeper explosion. So to make up for that, I am going to be selling a little more bread. And then we get paid. 76 emeralds all in one night. Yeah, like I said, the farming life suits me pretty well. Not only can we buy any of the crops we lost from that creeper attack, but we also get to buy all of the new crops that have just been added to HarvestCraft. These last few crops down here are the ones that I've never even grown before. I'm pretty excited to see what we've got going on here. Back over here in the farm, with the big hole that the creeper left, we can get started. Lotus, Colonia, alfalfa, bok choy, and carrots. I know those aren't new, but we still do need to plant them. We also get aloe, cattail, sorghum, and calabash all in place. This time at the bottom of the greenhouse. Now we also have just a few more crops that we're also trying to move down here. With all that work done and all those crops growing, we take a little break today. We go into the orchard to pick some of the fruits in the autumn chill. Soon, we have a whole backpack full, a huge collection of crops. We keep on picking into the cool of the night, and by the time we get back home, we have enough fruits and nuts to fill up a few new counters. With all these kitchen counters so full, we are going to take a minute to see just what kind of new options we have at our fingertips here. We can make some barbecue sauce and make a new barbecue jackfruit, the citrus salad, and peanut butter banana sandwich, because why not? We make pumpkin soup. It is that time of the year after all. And the recipe chest is looking good, but not as good as this. Finally, I take a moment to step back and get a good look at the double greenhouse. And I gotta say, this makes me pretty proud. We've made a lot of great builds this year, but this one right here, I think it's our best yet. In fact, the whole farmstead itself is looking pretty great. Even if the leaves are starting to turn their color just a little bit. Don't worry too much about the coming cold. I have a great plan for fall and winter, which starts by covering this entire hillside with our wine grapes. Remember, I still have no idea really how these things work, but hey, there's no better time to learn. Luckily, the Savannah and the Tiga grapes both go down on the hillside perfectly. Now, I have hope. I think I can pull off my final dream come true. But first, let's clean up this little path right here. One of the things I definitely do not see on YouTube enough is tutorials to connect all of your builds, how to add detail to your world itself, and to make all of your builds come together as one big collection. Making all these hallways and paths, connecting all the buildings, definitely makes living in this world much easier, don't get me wrong. More importantly, it makes it feel more connected. Oh, and speaking of a pathway into a new build, I start to dig down into the floor of my kitchen. That's right, we're going to be starting our next big project right away. To do that, we dig out a whole nother room underneath the kitchen. We spend a whole day digging and making sure we line up all the supports with the supports above us, so that it looks like the logs are running through the entire build. This time, I decide I think I just want to use a simple ladder to get up and down here, until I think I might have a better idea. Turns out, I was right. The jungle grapes can be climbed up instead of the ladder. Sadly, I wasn't right about this next part here. I tried using some yellow kitchen tiles, and I thought they'd be pretty cool, but eesh. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love these tiles in the kitchen and in the hallway. But we'll have to see about this. What I can definitely tell you is I love adding spruce slabs and trapdoors to the ceiling. It's definitely a good look down here again. And next, we're going to try something a little new. While the very top levels above ground are made out of wood, and the immediate underground is made out of bricks, I feel like the deeper level should be made out of stone. I'm trying to make a basement, or really more of like a cellar vibe for this build. And soon after smelting up some stone, I get the walls made into just simple bricks, and I think this should work just fine. Just like I said, I do love having as many walkways as possible. I decide to add one here where I can go directly into the very first greenhouse and then right into the cellar. I think that this works out perfectly. Also, I kind of like the look of having the bricks at the wall of the greenhouse too. It looks so good on this side, I decide to turn and do it on this side of the greenhouse as well. And now that I'm setting down all these bricks, kind of addicted. I want to keep on doing it. But before I get too carried away, I'm going to go up and take some of my grapes and keep spreading them all over the hillside. Now we head back into the cellar and immediately start to add some lanterns. Once again, turning this from dark and dank into warm and cozy. Sadly, the little Enderman, I think he prefers it dank, so we have to ask him to leave. Now we are off to a slightly less productive journey. See, down here in the Nether, I am trying to grab some quartz. While I'm here, the good news is we do find some hoglins, which is kind of a big deal. Now we can get a little bit of pork. Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. Sadly though, we find quartz as well as some glow dust, and even a pretty good amount of mushroom lights too. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, how is this a bad thing? Well, when I get back home, I try to set out all of the shroom lights to use them as a floor. And yeah, that's a big strikeout. This is no good. Next up, I use all the quartz we've collected, and I make even more kitchen tiles. But yeah, like I said, once I get these yellow kitchen tiles down, I think this is just too bright. It doesn't really mix well with the underground setting. Yet another waste. In the meantime, while I try to figure out what my floors are going to be, I do set up some grapevines on the hillside. And then I even add some of the cracked stone on the cellar walls. I'm sure you guys are well aware, but this is a classic move that most advanced builders will do. They'll break up the flat patterns of the walls just like this. However, in my opinion, sometimes I see people go just like a little too far with this, and I'm definitely not here to hate on that. Maybe that is your preference, maybe you don't like this at all, but I think less is more when it comes to this kind of thing. Either way, I'm a little too busy turning all of the supports of our greenhouse into something that I think is a little bit better here. Switching out these logs for stone wherever it comes in contact with the water does make more sense to me. Like if you think about it, these logs would probably rot if they were sitting in the water, and I think the stone is more sturdy and a better look in my opinion. As the cold autumn rain comes down, we take a minute to spread our vines even more all over the hillside, because I still need a moment here to think about how I'm going to finish up the cellar. That being said, I have to admit the hillside is really coming along today. At the start of day 66, our hillside of grapes is truly starting to become a decent little vineyard. And speaking of decent, I do decide to give nether bricks a try on the floor of the cellar. And honestly, I don't hate it, but I still can't quite explain why I might still be looking for something else here. Maybe if I get the entire floor done first, maybe this will fix this feeling that I'm having in my stomach. In the meantime, we get right back to setting up our grapes. I definitely do love setting all these grapes right along the pathways here, and all around the house too. In truth though, as I keep adding more of these grapes all around the pathways, even if we don't get one drop of wine, I'm still so happy with them. I think that they're the perfect autumn decoration. As the day ends, we now have enough bricks to keep working on the floor of the cellar. After getting this little preview right here, I do like it. I really think this is kind of nice looking. I think that the red even goes well with the grapes, but it's just missing something. But just then, I do get an idea. On day 67, we head out to the jacaranda trees once again, and these have worked wonders in the past to improve our builds. So I try setting out logs and slabs on the floor. Putting all these logs in the floor, instead of just putting slabs, makes it seem more robust, almost like it's built into its own foundation. I really like that for the cellar. Once again, this wood is just a little too bright. Until it hits me. What if we keep the log hardwood floor look, but also bring in that dark red from before? Of course, you guys already know, enter the redwood hard floors. By once again making the logs run right next to the slabs, we have a look that feels like this is built solidly into the foundation of the floor. But on top of that, by keeping this deep red look, the wood has been stained from the grapes. Once it's finished, I have to say it's exactly what I've been looking for. So of course, why did we build this little room down here? This is going to be our storage room. Safe and locked away underground, all of the elements of the coming seasons can't get anything down here. But I love this room so much, I don't want to just leave it as a simple basement. I want to connect it with the rest of the build and make it easier to move crops from the farm all the way down here as well. So now we're going to connect the hallway that we have going down into the kitchen, have it wrap around and head all the way down into the cellar as well. But we aren't done yet. I decide to keep going and dig my way over to the mine entrance, hooking this up to our first little cave where we started this 100 days. But even that still isn't good enough. Just like before in the hallway, I decide that 1 block wide like this is just too cramped. I expand this staircase, and I also make it 2 wide all the way down. I then start to add in the running log supports so that they match up with the kitchen and the cellar all over again. Now we just need to cook up some more bricks, and this should finish up the perfect look for our walls. And what better day than today to get down and dirty as we continue to dig out even more of the walls. Adding even more supports all the way down the hallway here keep it from looking too bland and boring. It keeps it from looking super cold and blank. Then adding some relief shelves right here in the sides adds some well-needed dimension to what could have ended up as a simple stone tunnel. Yes, we use slabs on the floors and on the ceilings to save a little stone. After all, I'm going to need all the stone I can get to build up even better stairs to get out of my cave. Yeah, that's right. This simple, ugly gravel path that we've been using to get from my mine to my house this entire time, it's finally going to get the love that it deserves. In fact, we're going to give this whole cave entrance a huge makeover as we start to add some stone bricks as a castle gateway sort of look over our main entrance. I don't want to go too overboard here. I want to make this a very quaint and very small little gatehouse that connects the two greenhouses perfectly. After it's done, I think it looks pretty good. Now we just have to figure out how to make the top work with everything as well. I probably could leave it the way it is, but come on now. I think we both know where I'm going with this. Spruce trapdoors as a setup, and now we just have to go grab a few flower leaves. Finally, as the night sets in, we grab our new cherry blossom tree, and at the start of day 71, we're finally making this cave flow better up to the house by getting some walls and some roofs fixed in here. I even set up the inside so that it seems like a nice little mini castle gateway. It's basically a little central hub where you can go anywhere in the base or down the mine. Even though this is a small addition, I actually think it's a pretty big part of all of the hallways and the stairs, making the space all flow together super well. A base like this, built in different chunks, different layers with so much unique dimension, could be hard to get around, especially since it's halfway underground. I think that we did a great job making enough paths so that the rooms still seem small and realistic, but they're also functional, all while keeping this cozy little individual vibe of every room. We finally do add some leaves and some flowers to the top of the gatehouse to soften it up so that we can stop it from looking like a fortress. That's not the vibe I'm going for. It's supposed to be a humble little home after all. Although, when I take a step back, humble might not be the right word here. This is starting to get pretty impressive. But, like I said, I'm not a soldier in a fort. I'm not even a great builder, really. I'm a farmer, and I didn't forget that. And now I'm gonna add some botany plots into the new stone hallway. Everywhere that I can put a little more life, I will. That even includes down here in this hall. Now, we just have to choose what kind of plants will grow. In my cooking table, I see that we can even make seeds, and this is going to be a huge deal, but that'll come later. For now, I'm just going to choose the plants that will bring out the most color. Red chilies with the blue blueberries, another splash of red with cranberries, some purple with these grapes. I also do add a little white from the cauliflower right up here, and I even get a little bit of black from the new truffles as well. We're now well into the day 70s, and I know as much fun as I'm having with this, winter is just around the corner. I can already see the world is starting to lose its bright colors, turning a cooler hue. Well, the Starks are always right, eventually. The change in hue and colors isn't the only thing going on today, as winter finally starts. The water in the farm has already frozen, and now all the crops out in the field are threatened. My only focus right now is to grab as many crops as I can as quickly as I can. Once I fill up my inventory, I move everything into my backpack and keep on going. But still, even then, I have too many items to grab, and my inventory and backpack have quickly filled up. Look at that. I guess it was a pretty good idea to make this quick little pathway down to the kitchen. And it's even better that we made it go all the way down to the cellar, because I need to dump all this produce off right now. I'm going to need as many open chests as possible. Head back up and grab the rest of the crops as quickly as I can too. And luckily, I don't think any of them have despawned yet. Also, we grab up the last wheat for the year. Remember, we won't be able to sell all this now to get infinite money. Not too worried about that right now though. I'm just glad that we got all these crops into the cellar where they're safe. Now, we head over and quickly grab all the crops out of the Terrace plots as well. Remember, these little ones don't have any glass over them. So not only will these stop growing, but pretty soon the water in here will freeze too, and they'll all die. Speaking of freeze, I see that the river has even started to freeze over too. One short look around our home, and it's easy to see how much the world truly has changed. Colder and much more muted. But still, in all of this, there is a charm to it. Before I get too entranced, I have to make sure that I grab all the grapes. See, remember, I'm very new to this mod, and I have no idea how this is going to work. Now, they don't need any water, so I'm thinking they actually might be safe. Again, I have no idea what's going to happen with them. So just to be careful, I harvest all the grapes, but I still don't break down the vines just yet. And I think it's going to work out pretty well too, because at the end of the day, we get a few stacks of each grape, so it should be okay no matter what. Then we make one big last run through all the greenhouses. I want to make a full harvest at the end of the year to see what all of our hard work has really amounted to. So, after making a trip through the spring, then summer greenhouses, we add all these crops to the chest in the cellar as well. While this collection of all of these crops is pretty impressive, I mean seriously, look at all the content that Pam has to offer. I have to admit, my organization skills are definitely going to be put to the test here. But first, we head to the surface again to harvest all of the trees. The winter shouldn't kill any of the trees, but very few of them will actually grow this time of the year. So realistically, this should be our last big harvest of the trees up here. The trees alone have so many fruits and nuts, we fill up our inventory and backpack, I think twice, maybe even 3 times doing all this. HarvestCraft keeps giving us more and more, even in the winter. Now the farms have all been harvested, and all of the crops are all safe. Now, with that, I can officially breathe a huge sigh of relief. And I take a moment here to get a look at our first real snow of the year. Sure, winter can be pretty harsh and oppressive, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't also so beautiful. Maybe it's the calm or the quiet after a full year working so hard. So as we stop and really get to see this huge change in our world, I mean, like, let's just be honest here. Seeing your entire world covered in snow like this is the real reason that you download Serene Seasons in the first place. But I still can't slow down too much here. For the next day or two, moving everything up into the right place up in the kitchen from the cellar. Just as you probably already have guessed, we have way too many crops now. Now I'm going to have to add a few more kitchen counters to hold all of these goodies. While it is getting crowded, I can't help but feel a little bit proud here. I mean, look at this. Our hard work really has paid off. But we have to be smart about this. If we just dive in and start to enjoy all the food we've grown, that means we might use up a crop, and therefore we would lose it. So now we can get into the cooking table and we can make a seed from every single crop that we have. Now we will fill our inventory with seeds, and then we can move the seeds back down into the cellar, turning the cellar into a sort of a seed vault. With all of our seeds safe, I have much, much less stress. And now I can truly enjoy the winter. And that still does not mean that the winter is going to be boring. I still have plenty of work to do this season. Starting with our next mini project, I guess you could say, the vineyard. Let's Do Vinery has grapevine stems, which I've just discovered. I craft them up, and now I start to add them to the hillside vineyard. I'm not exactly sure if they'll help the grapes grow or increase our output, but honestly, I'm just doing this because I think it looks really good. After spending the morning setting up the red grapes and completely loving this, of course, we switch to setting up the white grapes now too. I also decide that I'm going to make rows with some gaps in them on the very top little hill that the kitchen is under. I think that this kind of has its own cool little look as well. Growing under this cherry blossom tree doesn't hurt either, and by the night, we get most of the white grapes all set up on the hillside. And by the next morning, I can see that the whole vineyard, even in the winter cold, still looks pretty awesome. I get a quick drink of fruit punch, which does remind me of the flavors of summer, but to be honest, at this point, I don't really miss it too much. The holidays, after all, do have their own special charm, and I think I may have still found a fun wintertime farm to keep us growing. I'm pretty sure that Let's Do Vinery isn't affected by Serene Seasons. After all, it's a pretty new mod. Like I said before, now I'm completely convinced that we're going to have to give the Let's Do modpack its own video. But then again, maybe we should work with it a little more and see if we even like this part of it. Starting by making some grapevine pots. I make 3 of them, 1 for each grape, and I set them down here in the cellar. Now we can fill them up with said grapes, and soon all we have to do is stomp on them. I take off my shoes, of course, wouldn't want to get any dirt in our juice, and then we get to smashing. A few good stomps. Yeah, I can already tell you guys, this is my kind of farming mod right here. I really like this. Doing fun little side activities here instead of just using a crafting table, it's definitely giving Farmer's Delight vibes, and I love it. Honestly, if nothing else comes of this, these pots right here are great decoration. They're going to go great with these fermentation barrels that we set right on the wall over here. But we do manage to get a little more use out of them than just decoration, because soon we get all of this crushed grape juice into some wine bottles. We can add the juice to the fermentation barrel and next start to look up recipes for making wine. This is great. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, this right here, this is why we're going to have to do a Let's Do video on its own. If I'm being totally honest with you guys, I did kind of mess up this part of the 100 days. No surprise, classic captain. See, it was right here I was starting to realize there was something called a red grape. So now I'm thinking, well, maybe a red grape is like a mix of the red savanna and the red jungle grapes? I also saw that there's another type of white grape. Yeah, like I said, I made a big mistake thinking that this mod only had 3 grapes. In reality, because this mod has 6 grapes, I'm not even going to be able to make half of all the wine. In fact, not even close to that. I spend a lot of time, honestly, too much time, trying to figure out all the recipes and combining them with the wrong grapes, not understanding what's really going on here. However, I do manage to sort of stumble my way into something here. I had some snowballs from the white Tiga grapes from my farm, and soon I see that we have a 5-minute timer over here. Success. I think this might actually turn into something. Likewise, I see that my sugar and cocoa beans are mixing with the red jungle grapes. And there it is, stall wine, our first attempt at winemaking. And I mean, how bad could it be? It literally has sugar and cocoa in it. Next up, our Eswin brew comes along and joins the stall in our wine collection. And so, slowly, I am figuring this all out. I start to see that I don't have all the grapes. Some of the recipes I wanted are just simply not an option for this 100 days. But on the bright side, this does help me figure out and narrow down what recipes I can make so I can start to do those right now. For example, I jump into the freezing water, have a little Titanic moment here, and grab some kelp from the frozen river. I can combine it with some sugar and some iron with our Tiga grapes. But we're going to have to let that ferment, so let's go grab some ingredients for another blend too. And that ingredient is a brown mushroom. Hopefully, this is worth the trip to the nether. While we can quickly craft up the fermented eye, we can now add it to these Savannah grapes. Now that both of these wines are set, let's make an apple press and set it down here as well. Since this room is clearly becoming exactly what you think it is, I go out and I grab some cherry wood because I'm gonna make some new blocks. Cherry wood wine cabinets. These things are pretty cool. Although, the bad news is, for some reason, I still can't seem to add any wine bottles to the wine cabinets. Not really sure about that one. But hey, the good news is, adding these down here makes this place look much, much less like a storage room or a basement, and now officially we have a wine cellar. Speaking of, our next wine, Joe's Special Mixture. It's a heart-shaped bottle that looks pretty good. Then we get this Golden Ages wine that looks pretty cool too. This officially makes 4 types of wine. But just like with our food products, I want to make sure that I make a copy so that we can save one to our collection. So it does take us a little more time, but soon we have an extra bottle of each, so now we can do a tasting. And by tasting, yes, of course I mean chugging the entire bottle all in one gulp. But that's how fancy people do it, by the way. The stall wine gives us a health boost on top of our already huge health bar. It's pretty nice. Then, the Aegis gives us an armor boost. The combo of these 2 wines could be really, really useful for something like a boss fight. Next, however, we try the Eswin, which says it gives us frozen armor, but not really too sure how that's working out here. Then finally, Joe's Special Mixture gives us the ability to climb up anything, kind of like a spider. I think this one's actually pretty cool too. Of course, just like any drunken night out, I do manage to trip and fall, and now my health bar is starting to look like I really did go on a bender last night. Look at that, turns out the wine in this game is lore accurate. Neat. With a breakfast of broccoli and fruits, we do get our diet back in order, and I even start brewing up some cider from our apples. After last night, I'm thinking that maybe wine drinking isn't my thing. But hey, these new blocks undeniably do make a gorgeous decoration, so I think it's all worth it in the end. Besides, I can't let the hangover get me down. I have work to do, and only 20 days to do it. Now, we get some jacaranda trees to get ready for our next big project of the year. Right here on the riverside, next to our new greenhouses, we clear out a little bit of space and start building our pale white log supports. We set out a front entrance right here, facing out towards the water, and then we start to build our way backwards into the hillside. Once again, building on a slope like this means we need to dig into the hillside. But at this point, I've gotten pretty good at this. In no time, we start to carve out some space to set in this new build. That night though, we do have to take a little break. We have to go run out and get a little more wood. But by day 81, we've managed to collect enough. We should be able to finish the framework here. So, after spending just a little more time, pretty quickly, the rest of the hillside is carved out. And this time, we don't even need to worry about having any dirt set up here, because this is not going to be a farm. That's right, this isn't going to be a third greenhouse. Don't worry about that. Now, we can start to strip all the logs, showing off the bright white logs. Now, I will say that this right here does kind of blend with the snow, and it doesn't look too great. It's kind of muddled in here. But I promise, soon this will all make sense. Right away, I hope that you can see what I mean here when I start to add this contrasty, super colorful red from the redwood. Have you guys figured out what this build is going to be yet? To be honest with you guys, I had originally planned to make this build pretty simple. Nothing too super detailed or over the top for this one. Just some simple red planks as the walls should be good enough for us. At least that's what I was thinking at the time. As we get into the night, this side of the build right here is starting to look like exactly what I wanted. And at the start of the next day, we're making some good time here. However, the next part of this is really gonna slow us down. I head out to grab some deep slate, because I want to try something new for the roof of this new build. We do need to also grab some coal, but that's pretty easy. Then we have to head home and not get distracted by our stunning base. Not easy, I can tell you that. But either way, soon we have our deep slate cooking in our furnaces, and now we're ready to run it through a stone cutter. I have another mod installed called Macaw's Roofs, and honestly, all of Macaw's mods are pretty awesome if you're a builder. But this one specifically lets us make a ton of unique roofs, no surprise there. For example, we can make a steep sloped roof, as well as this normal 45-degree roof. I think I might be able to do something amazing here if I can pull this off. Well, that is as long as these creepers don't blow us up first. Now, we start off with the normal 45-degree roof. And I will say though, even the detail in this alone makes this mod well worth it already. I would be happy making the entire roof look like this, and if we can't figure this out, we might have to. But once I add one of the steep pieces, both the top here, to fit in with the bottom blocks, now I know that we have something special on our hands here. This lets us make roofs that aren't simply just 45 degrees, which is super nice. But sadly, it does take some time, and it does take a lot of deep slate. So, for the rest of the day, we're just going to be mining and cooking up all of our deep slate. Then, we're going to have to cut it into the right type of roof. But all this being said, we're already getting to the second level, so our progress isn't too bad. By the start of day 84, we now have enough in place so I can start to try out the lower roofs. This will let me get a better idea of how the whole entire build might actually end up looking. Okay, now do you guys see what I'm building here? Come on, my crew is smart. I know you guys already have this one nailed. Then again, it is me building, so maybe I'm giving myself a little too much credit here. After even more time down in the mines, finally, on day 85, we have a good amount of deep slate all cooked up. Honestly though with you guys, at this point in the 100 days, I'm not too rushed. I'm happy to just sit back and enjoy the view whenever I can. Next up, we're making a base slope of the roof. This means it's much less steep, more like a 30-degree slope. Just like before, we have to make a lower and an upper version so the slope will fit together well. Soon, we can try to set this up, and already I can see that this is going pretty well. As the sun is setting, I can see that this is coming together in the middle perfectly. I think that my awesome roof idea might actually work here, just the way I had hoped. Honestly, at this point, I wish I had something more suspenseful to say here. Like, oh no, we're not going to finish in time, or oh, this is totally broken, what will I do? But, nope. This build is coming together perfectly. And it's super fun seeing it work out so well, just the way I like it. The only complaint I could even really consider is that making these custom roofs is taking a lot of time and effort. Getting all the roofs done at this point looks like it might take up most of the winter. But I'm not getting distracted. I don't have any farms or anything else to worry about right now. And the more and more we get done, the more and more it starts to look like exactly what I was hoping for. Now I will admit, it is a little strange that this type of build would be halfway in the mountain. Yeah, a little bit here. If I could go back and change one thing, it would be to find some way to better incorporate this build into the hill a little bit better. I think I actually did a pretty good job of that in my other builds. At the end of today, I do decide to trim up this hill to make it look a little bit more natural. You know, so it doesn't look like I just dropped an asset right into the game. But hey, what do you know? The roof is done. Now, we just have to add some grass down here, and the floor will be done as well. Next up, we get some custom gates and fences, once again using Macaw's, and soon we can set up a very simple little layout down here. By the way, I don't mean to bring this up a second time, but I genuinely have an honest question. For everybody who's still watching this late into the video, it'd be really cool to get your opinions here. Do you guys prefer YouTube videos where you build with mostly vanilla blocks, or do you like all these modded blocks like Macaw's? I know sometimes people look at this as kind of like cheating. Like it's more creative when you can figure out a way to make the vanilla blocks work. Personally, I do kind of understand that idea, but at the same time, if you've been building with vanilla blocks for so many builds over and over, I think it is kind of nice to do something newer and even more realistic. But then again, I don't want to sway your guys' opinion. Let me know what you genuinely think. I know one vanilla block that I definitely love. These spruce trapdoors could never be improved upon. And of course, I do love my little chickies. We take them into the cold air, but only for a second until we can get them into our barn. If you guys didn't know that this was going to be a barn, then I don't know what to say at this point. I honestly think I nailed this one. I did not, however, nail the pens though, because clearly the chickens could walk right in and out of them without even breaking a sweat. I do decide to add some covers over the windows in the form of some more custom fences. I think this does add to the look even more though, so I'm not even mad about it. Oh, and speaking of not mad at all, at the sunrise of day 88, that reload means that the winter is almost over. Just 8 more days until our year is over. So let's hurry up and grab all of our livestock and get them nice and warm. Since we've gone the passive route and we haven't killed any animals this playthrough, it's easy to find some cows and sheep just right out behind our base. Getting them home over this icy landscape, maybe not so easy. But soon enough, we do safely get them back. Unfortunately, as fun as it is to get these guys home, I do have one little complaint about Macaw's gates. They aren't letting animals pass through them, which does kind of suck. But it's not really a game wrecker though, because we have carry-on. We can grab them and pick these big boys right up. After having a face full of cow and sheep butts, it's kind of nice now because they can't even get through these gates to get out of their pens, even if they're open. However, now, finding some pigs is a little bit harder, but it only takes a few minutes. Soon, we have a pack of them following us too. This time, I do try to find another way home, thinking this might be easier, but yeah, whoops, didn't know it was going to be this steep over here. But hey, turns out these pigs are part mountain goat, I guess, because they managed to get over these cliffs pretty easily. Sort of. I think we might have lost a few there, but you know what? I can't stop to think about that. Now, we're officially home, which means the barn is completely full of all of our animals. None of which have to be worried about ever being harmed again. In fact, that night, I decide to risk my own life to go out and try to make sure I can get one more sheep home. I wouldn't want our poor girl in here to be all alone now, would I? And with that, as the next day starts, we can now completely empty out our inventory, because I only have one more goal in mind. For the next 100 days in this world, I'm going to enjoy the rewards of all of our hard work throughout the entire year as I head down into my kitchen. Starting off in what better way than with a bit of baba ganoush. We finally get it. Then we cook up some bacon and eggs and bacon wrapped chilies, since we do finally have a little bit of meat. But of course, you viewers, you probably already knew what I was going to do here. We do not need to go into the nether and farm those hoglings. We have our soybeans coming to the rescue. With soybeans, you can make tofu, which can be turned into any meat in Minecraft. For example, if we combine tofu and soy sauce, we can make toe rabbit. But it's nice to know that we don't have to hurt these little guys. Also, you can make some tofu, and barbecue sauce, and spice leaf, and then you can make toe mutton to save our poor little sheep. The only real struggle, ironically, is pork. It takes maple syrup. And to be honest with you guys, I had completely forgotten about maple syrup. It's one of the few things we haven't gotten. So we go and we buy 2 of these trees, along with some cinnamon trees as well. And then we start planting them. Now, as a true farmer, I've managed to not use one bit of bone meal throughout 90 days of farming. But I don't have that choice here. I'm gonna have to use it not only to make the trees grow up from saplings, but also using it on the bark will make the syrup and the cinnamon grow as well. Meanwhile, back in the kitchen, I continue to see just how far we can go with our new tofu treats. Now, using a little bit of tofu and some barbecue sauce and pepper, we can make toe steak. I think Betsy would approve of this. I get distracted by this 8-ingredient fiesta salad, I do love that. Then, using barbecue sauce and flour, we can make toe chicken. We're gonna need a lot of this. Chicken is in a huge amount of recipes from all over the world, and now we're gonna try to get some of them. But at the start of day 90, it doesn't stop there. We head out and grab some more kelp. Then we can also make some banana bread, just because I love it. Then we make some Abelskivers. It's new to me if I'm being totally honest. Next, we can turn some of our soy milk into cream and cocoa beans into cocoa powder. I said some new dishes in our collection, but to be honest, right now, I'm actually trying to get as many ingredients as I possibly can. Now we can fill up an entire counter with our new tofu and condiments. Speaking of ingredients, I completely empty out my inventory once again. Now we're gonna head out and make one more massive harvest, collecting as many crops as we can from all different types of farms. And this does include collecting some of our maple syrup and cinnamon as well. I do take a second here when I cook up some guac, but I'm still mainly trying to get all the ingredients I can first. Ketchups, mustards, sauces, and a whole lot of butter as well, including one of each of the butters made from nuts, speaking of butter. We even make some hazel spread. Oh, come on now. We all know this is clearly Nutella. And now we're going to try to fill up our entire inventory with brand new, never made before recipes. Starting with baklava, beef jerky, beef pot pie, beef Wellington, broccoli dip, a California roll. Then we add a few candied items like candied ginger and candied walnuts. Now we move over to the chest where we set all these items down and get all the way to the very last row. After an entire day of cooking, I realize I haven't been out in my orchard yet. This time of year, the growth of all of these things will be slowed down, but we should still have plenty to harvest here, including some of the very rare winter growing trees, like these lemons. We take a quick trip back home to drop off all of the goodies we've collected in a full inventory. Then we head back out to collect the second half of all the tree fruits. This includes getting more bone meal, which we do use on the maple tree. Like I said, I definitely should have grown this in season, and it would have saved us a lot of trouble. But I can't be too upset at myself. Now, with all the maple syrup and the cinnamon, we can get back into the kitchen. We start out with some more dishes like applesauce and a caprese salad, then carrot bread, carrot cake, and carrot soup. Then we can get our cashew chicken. I actually decided to make 2 of these so that I can try one. Celery and peanut butter, classic. Ceviche, using some of those new lemons. And some sour cream and onion chips too. Cheesecake, cheesy nachos, chocolate cherry coconut, chicken alfredo, chicken chow mein, chicken gumbo, chicken noodle soup, chicken parm, chicken pot pie, chico rolls, another 8 dishes. Like I said, we really needed the chicken. Oh, and chocolate caramel fudge too. Chocolate milk, chocolate oranges, along with a chocolate peanut butter bar, a chocolate roll, until we finally get something that's not chocolate, a citrus salad. We also make a little bit of cola, coleslaw, and Cornish pastry. Some cranberry sauce. Then we get into the cream soups with cream of chicken, cream of avocado, cream of mushroom, and creamed corn. Rice Krispie Puff cereal, a cucumber sandwich, and some dim sum fills out our inventory. A full inventory of some well-deserved delicious meals. So of course, more room is needed and even more chests are added here. I set up 2 more double chests, which is probably overkill, let's just be honest here, but after unloading my pockets, who knows? Maybe it isn't. And what better way to start off our next big push than to get a little Earl Grey tea? We get an egg salad, eggplant parm, an egg roll, some festive bread, a fig bar, a fish lettuce wrap, and then we can get some fried pecan okra. Turn that festival bread into fruit cream festival bread, green tea like I always do, grilled cheese, of course, grits, and then we start to make some ground beef. Turns out some of the recipes need ground meat versions of their proteins, which will become a problem later. But for now, let's focus on some hot chocolate and some hot wings, hush puppies, ice cream, imitation crab, and kale chips. Then next up is lemon chicken, along with some maple oatmeal. Gotta love that. Then we get some mashed sweet potatoes, meatloaf, which we turn into a meatloaf sandwich, merengue, mushroom steak, onigiri, which reminds me of my Harvest Moon days, orange chicken then makes a return, paneer, and of course some pecan pie. Finally, a poke bowl and some popcorn completely fills up a whole nother inventory. All of these dishes are brand new. Even after 93 days, we're still managing to get an entire inventory of food that we've never seen in the entire year. This is a 4th chest that we've moved on to already. 3 whole chests full of food, and we're still going. And we're still only in the M's, with some miso paste, mixed salad, and mixed flour salad, then mochi, mushroom ketchup omelet, Old World veggie soup, that one kept me alive in one of my videos, potato cakes, sesame snaps, a spring salad, stuffed bell peppers, oh, that one really takes me back, surf and turf, sushi, and some tomato soup. We get all the way down to the bottom, and I see I can make tortillas. And then I realize there are even more recipes available to me now. Like nachos, of course. Then we can make a vegetarian lettuce wrap and wonton soup. This is the end of the alphabet, and it's time to unload into the 4th chest. But this is by no means the last of our time in the kitchen. There are still dishes like hazelnut coffee, which I find by looking through the Just Enough Items UI. Using this, I'm going to see if there's any other dishes that I missed and find out what ingredients they need, and I'm still going to try to make them. Like the avocado and bean burritos just needed some tortillas. So we're still managing to find some new dishes like French toast and cinnamon toast too. We set these new dishes in the chest, and maybe we can actually fill this last one up too. I mean, we still do have plenty of time. So now there are a few interesting dishes. For example, cookies and milk. All they needed was for you to craft up cookies first. Okay, no surprise there. We can still make some things like s'mores too, if we cook up all the ingredients needed to make them. There's still some great dishes left here too, like chocolate chip pancakes. We can get ourselves some choco volex, not really sure what that is, but okay, I definitely know what a chocolate orange biscuit is. Next up, we get some fried chicken, refried beans, zucchini fries, and fried onions. Now we can start to see what other dishes are unlocked by using ground up meats. But for example, ground chicken gives us chicken nuggets. I love that. Also, it can give us chicken sandwiches too. We add in some zucchini bread, and we can even get some chicken tenders. Next up, some chicken katsu is on the menu, and General Tso's chicken as well. Now we head back to the chest and start to move over all of these new little treats once again. With all of these, we're getting pretty close down to the bottom here again too. So I finally managed to get a pot roast, as well as getting some ground beef so that we can make some burgers. I decided to go for two actually, a deluxe cheeseburger and a paradise burger, which has spinach in it. I think I'll go for the deluxe burger, thanks. Then we get our toasted western. Now we can move on to making some ground pork too. The big thing that this unlocks for us is a hot dog. Now we can move on to some ground fish, or at least that's what I wish. See, ground fish cannot be made out of tofu. You have to use actual fish for this. So even though we can still get some fish items like fish and chips, we're gonna need ground fish to make fish sticks. Meaning we can officially say you cannot make every dish in Pam's HarvestCraft without killing some animals. Still, I do make this fish dinner and a fish taco to make myself feel a little bit better. Baked ham comes up next, then we get some bacon wrapped dates, and then some glazed carrots. We can also make a proper real baked potato with butter and salt on it, and some mashed potatoes too. A poached pear kind of sounds good, and also a breaded pork chop. Finally, with some chili poppers filling up my inventory, once again, you guys already know what that means. With this last batch of fresh meals, we can officially fill up a fourth chest of HarvestCraft recipes. Now, I have to head down to the cellar and start to fill up a fifth chest. I honestly kind of can't believe that. That's crazy. And what's even more crazy, we still have 5 days to go. Who knows how far we can get? We still have items like a caramel apple and some cotton candy. We get some stew, not so suspicious this time. But what is pretty suspicious is that I've been making all of these crazy foods and I still haven't made a pizza. So we head out into the gardens and grab all the ingredients we're going to need, like tomatoes, for example. Sure enough, we do get that pizza. Then, some beans and rice. All of this has finally brought us to day 96. And yes, that reloading means exactly what you think it does. I can already see all the new changes brought on by the beginning of spring. The melting ice and the instant brightening of the greens bursting into this world. Our second year begins. And yes, we have managed to make it through the harsh winter. So we only have one thing left to do right now. We head down to the cellar and we grab all the seeds that we brought down here into the vault. With our backpack full as well, we head out into the fields. The ice is thawing, and the snow is slowly melting away. Now, we can begin to get all of our seeds in the ground for the very first time this year. We set down our backpack, and then we start to grab the seeds. We'll be replanting them one by one. Now, does all of this warrant a diamond home? No, probably not. But I don't care. I'm so excited that we've made it through the whole year. After all, I'm a farmer. I still need a hoe that's gonna last for a whole nother year and another 200 days. All throughout today, we continue to get all these seeds in the ground. Then, far into the night, we keep on fighting to rebirth and revitalize this farm that has taken care of us so well. As the sun rises on day 97, the warmth is very, very welcome. Another trip made down to the vault as we get even more seeds. Soon, as the sun is starting to set, we finally have all of the ground crops down in the dirt. Still lots of growing to do, but after all, we've got a whole year to do it. And now, as our journey comes to an end, I get one more chance to look over my base and all of the things that we've managed to achieve. Now, you're probably a little bit confused here. I mean, after all, isn't it only day 97? I don't want to spoil too much here or give anything away, but a huge event actually just happens here on day 97 before the 100 days is over. I think it's best to leave... So for right now, I think it's best to leave our story right here. After all, if you guys want, and we get enough comments, and we could do... After all, if you guys want, if we get enough comments asking for it, we can do another 100 days. We don't want to miss any of the events coming up in the next year. Besides, what we've managed to accomplish is far more than I could have hoped for in a full year of PAM'S HarvestCraft.